And he was like, get out. I got it. I was like, all right, fine. I got out, and my dad fell. And then he went to the hospital, and yeah. And so, like, when I had that conversation with him, we didn't talk about that, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that he was going. Like, we're talking about a 10-year battle.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not like maybe this is me convincing myself, but it's not like I sped up the process or something, right?
No.
But,
dude, come on.
like, he never came home from the hospital that time. And so I know my dad knows wherever he is that it's all good. You know, it was time. And my dad was suffering for 10 years. And he finally said goodbye.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Mario.
And I'm Peter.
And we're
Guys That Listen.
On today's episode, we got musician, producer, director, full-time creator, and full-time dog dad, Westside J, Mr. Jaytaj.
Yo.
Man, boy, wow. You knew how to put a smile on my face. Full-time dog dad. Yeah. Shout out to Cyrus, my love of my life. The greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Shout out to my dogs too, Gordo, Zorro, Misi.
Hey,
Shout out
man.
to my dog right here.
That's why me
Together,
and
bro.
Cyrus get along so well.
Yeah.
We are of the same breed, cut from the same cloth.
Tell us about yourself, Jay.
Jaytaj, that's my name. Short for Gerard Peretta Tahaji Jr.
Oh.
Born and raised in the west side of Santa Ana. Lived my whole life in this city up until about 6 years ago. Moved out to LA, but spent my whole life as an artist of some kind, as far back as elementary school, you know, and I've just been kind of like dedicating every minute of my life for the last 30-something years to, you know, making art.
Yeah.
And that's who I am, I guess. Who am I? I am art.
Damn.
I like
Somebody
that.
created me and I create something.
What do you think you're most proud of creating?
10-4. I've created so much that I'm proud of. I don't think I've ever created anything except for like 1 or 2 songs where I said some sus-ass shit that I wish I could unsay it, or maybe like my state of mind has changed. So those are like the few things where I'm like, damn, I wish those didn't exist. But just about everything I've touched, I'm proud of. But 10-4, I'm so proud of 10-4 that it's inhibiting. You know?
Oh, wow.
That it's like gotten in the way of me. Yeah,
Wow.
yep. It's a masterpiece in my opinion.
That's awesome.
And the support of that project is indicative that other people may feel the same way. And now every time I get in the booth to try and create art, there's this inhibiting, like, well, it's not as good as that.
Oh, man.
So stop.
That is a
You know what
creator
I'm
thing
saying?
for sure.
Yeah.
That's a creator problem. But going back to what you said, some sus things. Is that on the internet, or is that
Yeah,
just
yeah, man.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, by
shit.
such shit, I'm just like maybe like objectifying women.
Oh, I feel it.
You know, like there was a song I did with the homies. I mean, I don't give a fuck if you go listen to it.
Yeah.
I will say this.
It's gonna play right here in the background.
Even if I did some shit that I'm not particularly proud of, or something that I wouldn't put at the forefront of representing my art,
Yeah.
it was still a moment in my life that we've all done and said and felt certain ways that we're not necessarily, you know, we're not on that same page anymore, but it still happened. I just happen to have shit on the internet that documents it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
but there
feel
was
you.
a song I did with the homies, my Goonies, Kai Gritty.
Oh.
and
Kai. Shouts to Kai.
And my brother AJ and my brother Jeff. And we did this record called Oprah. And essentially the chorus is like, you could get this dick, you could get this dick, you could get this dick.
You can get this dick. You can get this dick.
In that verse, I talk about a shorty at the copper door and how she ain't want to
door.
dance. And I'm like, well, bitch, why the fuck you in the club then? Like, which sort of implies that, like, well, if you're here, you have to fucking fuck with me, which is a stupid ideology.
Yeah.
But in my defense, I took that line from my uncle, who rapped that line in the early 2000s on one of his records.
Oh, damn.
And he also feels the same way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
it's-
I tried to re-release their album on Spotify, because back in the day, like, they just did like physical copies.
Yeah, of course.
And when I had it on Spotify, it was on Spotify and Apple Music and everything for about a year. Then my uncle was like, yo, I kind of need you to take that down. You know, like
really?
he feels really passionate about that shit. And he's a professor now at a college. You know what I mean? So now I'm re-releasing his album without that song. And I'm like, yo, I low-key feel what you feeling.
Yeah.
Because if I could, I would never ask Kai Gritty to take the record down. It's a funny record. It's a
Yeah.
good record, and it's a good memory of me and my brothers.
Yeah.
You know, two of which that don't even really actively make music. You know, we just was in the studio, fuck it. We're going to fuck around and make some fun shit. And it
Yeah.
came out really good. It's just that one line.
I mean, it's a great memory. One line makes you feel like maybe you regret it, but at the same time, that was you guys at the time. You know what I mean? Like me and Mario talk about some of the shit in the past that we've done, and not particularly proud of it, nor does it represent us currently. But that was us at one point, and we've grown from that. And to me, no one's fucking perfect, bro.
Yeah, that part.
See, the biggest thing is to go the distance. You know what I mean? If you're the same person as you were before, it shows that you haven't grown.
Message.
And it shows that you've grown as an artist, right? And not just as an artist,
But as a man.
As a man.
as a man.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you feel that way. It's not because you're just grown as an artist, but as a man, that's what's changed about your perspective, right?
Yeah. The funny thing is, I never really felt that way, but I was just kind of I was trying to be bravado and braggadocious and like I'm unfuckwittable.
Yeah.
And then I said that shit, and at the moment, I'm like, yeah, that shit's lit. And now I look back like, that's a really stupid fucking line.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And it's funny that my uncle feels the same way. A man I look up to very much.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, no, that was a very bad decision.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't ever want nobody to listen to that shit. And like we do with a lot of people in 2023, we take one moment and we consider that our understanding of who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? And I don't never want that to happen. So you'll never see me share that link, but it's out there.
The internet is forever, my
And he's
friend.
canceled. Do you feel like it's kind of like looking back at your Facebook or your MySpace
Oh,
or
man.
Zanga and shit and be like, damn, I wrote this? Like, ooh, I said that? Like,
Or I wore that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
man.
Oh,
I
my
feel like
haircut was like that.
I only got fresh like in the last like 3 years. I feel like 4 years ago I was wearing really dumb shit. Like I looked like a goofball.
I'm going to hit you up later. You know?
I feel like everyone feels like that, right?
Yeah.
It's rare that I look back and I'm like, fuck, dude, what the hell is that thinking? But that was me at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's only until I don't want to say age comes into a factor, but experience, you kind of grow into your own skin. You know, like for me, you know, when I got compliments on maybe the way I dressed when I was younger, it was by the people the same age as me, going through the same shit.
Wearing
Dressed
the
probably
same
very
shit that you was
similarly,
wearing. Yeah.
exactly, you know, but the world is bigger than that.
Yeah.
And I think when you understand that, then all of a sudden your style kind of changes. You understand who you are and what you're trying to represent.
In our defense though, as millennials,
Yeah.
we were the dumb ass generation that tried the dumbest shit,
Everything,
bro.
bro.
I'm talking 9X tall tees,
Yeah.
then fucking jeans that definitely didn't fit us. Like they were way too small.
Yep,
Like
yep.
I went from like Snap era Lil Jon 9X tall tees, fucking shorts that would drag on the ground,
Yeah.
and not because I was sagging, they were just that long.
Yeah.
Like I would write shit on my sunglasses and just the wildest shit. Then to like the jerkin era,
Yeah.
where it was basically the same shit, but like if you shrunk everything by 20 sizes, then everything was just too small
Yep.
and you could barely move. And if I look back on photos of that shit, and I even remember I was looking on, I recently went into my hard drive to try and find a record, and I had put this whole story on my Instagram.
I saw it.
So I went in that hard drive. In that same hard drive is so many pictures of like my teenage years and
Yeah.
shit. And man, when I first discovered Photoshop was a problem.
Really?
I was like, why did I think I was getting away with smoothing my skin?
No fucking
What?
way.
I mean, there's pictures of me and my brothers where I'm like, why would I ever do that?
Yeah.
I mean, it is bad. It was like I discovered the airbrush tool and just made everyone's face flat.
Yeah.
Just the exact same
got, like,
tone.
porcelain skin
Right.
and
And
everything.
I thought it was like, yo, this is fire. This is some shit that would be in fucking GQ or some shit.
The honey's going to love it. See
Oh
how
my
like, I
God.
moisturized.
How
You know?
stupid I must have looked.
But you know what it is though? I feel like because I review our podcast and I make into reels and stuff like that, so I have to rewatch it, right? Re-listen to what the fuck I've been saying.
Yeah.
And even a week ago, I'll be saying shit where I'm like, oh man, did I
Yeah.
really fucking say
Why
that
did I
shit?
say that?
I think a lot of it is just constantly growing up, you know. And I feel like a lot of people don't kind of review what they've done in the past. They kind of just want to glaze over it and not pay attention. Like, oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't do this. But realistically, when you feel that in your soul, where you're like, oh, you kind of learn from that a lot easier
Yep.
than just act like it never happened.
Cringe helps you evolve.
Cringe fucking helps,
Cringe
bro.
helps you, dude.
If you don't cringe to yourself, man, you're just lying to yourself. to be honest.
Since we constantly review stuff, like we're making our reels, making our stuff, we catch ourselves saying like all the time, and I'm like, damn. I even got called out on it. Someone's like, someone's like, you were saying like way too much, and I was like, damn, you're right.
Yeah, that's a subjective concept.
It is, but it's like I can see it. I can see the auto captions being like this, like that, like that. So I'm like, you know what? I need to kind of take that back a bit and kind of work on my own speaking, just like because I want to be able to speak without using like on every other sentence. You know
But why?
You know what? It flows better. It flows better when we make the reels. You know, and maybe when we have conversation too. I don't notice it until it's brought up.
You know, on the reels though, it does show up a lot more because when you caption it, the word like pops up like a bunch of times, and you're like, oh shit, okay, maybe it is a lot. You know, it fills up the whole screen. You're like, oh, maybe I said it too many times.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a cultural thing.
It is.
It is.
And I'm
it
very
is.
protective of culture and the way people talk in whatever environment. And I remember I took public speaking in college, and obviously they would dock points off your speeches if you use like this, like that, like this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I used to feel like, why? Like, because I'm not speaking English as properly as you
No, I agree.
as you expect me to
Yeah.
is a little, I don't fuck with that, because if I come up here and say finna or gonna,
Yeah.
you know, or ax, I don't think I should have to change that for your comfort. But I guess in terms of media, it makes a little more sense
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you get to watch it over and over and over. And with the captions, it is being smacked in your face.
Yeah.
But I also just feel like someone made it up a long time ago that like is a bad thing.
That's not
in
wrong.
regular
That's not wrong.
conversation,
Yeah.
no one
No-
gives a fuck.
No one
Yeah.
fucking cares.
You don't even notice it.
There are some people where it's like,
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
really the only word they know.
Yeah.
But in regular conversation, I think it's safe to say 90% of people who speak English in America probably say that shit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother anybody.
No,
I actually
100%,
really fuck with that
100%.
because language evolves, you know, with the culture, with the people. Like you said, like finna, ax, whatever, you know, like if it's part of like the way you speak and you're developing with like, you know, your friends, groups and everything, that's totally normal. You know, that's how language evolves. That's how you get new slang. That's how you get new words. That's how just it is. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When you're in middle school and stuff, they tell you like, don't use like.
And I bet you
No.
those teachers say that shit. Guarantee you they say
Wait,
that shit.
you're from SA. What high school would you go to?
I went to Los Amigos for my freshman year,
okay.
and then I was in Access. So,
Access?
yeah,
What is
like
Access?
What is Access?
Yeah.
I respect you for not knowing what Access is. There are people who watch this video who know exactly what Access is. It's like continuation
curious.
school.
oh no, don't give him that handshake. He went to continuation school too.
I did.
Well, you didn't go to Access. Where are you from?
I'm from Santa.
We're all from Santa Ana.
What district were you in?
Guess that would be
Valley.
Santa Ana. School
You're
district.
Valley.
So
Yeah.
I'm on the west side of Santa Ana, so I was in Garden Grove district.
yeah.
So I don't know. I thought Access was the same across all districts.
Nah.
No.
But Access is essentially just continuation school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I meant
yeah.
to continue.
Yeah, he got kicked out of continuation school.
I unshaken. But also,
hey,
continuation school. The greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
was
Actually?
leaving
Hey, you
regular high school.
too.
I know continuation school wasn't the greatest
Hey,
thing.
well, I mean, because you went and then you got kicked out and then you got to like do it all your own, you know.
No,
That part. That's it. That's
Yeah.
what saved my life.
What was the thing that I took? It was independent studies.
Yeah.
That's honestly because I was dreading that shit. Right? I didn't graduate on time, so I went to continuation school. First day in continuation school, I got into a fight, so I got kicked out. I got expelled.
Yikes.
Right?
First day.
First day, man.
With the broken arm?
No, that one I had both arms.
Broken?
Yeah, I had a broken arm where I had to fight a guy.
Oh, I thought
one
he was
time.
saying both arms were broken.
No. I actually had both arms functioning.
Good.
But no, I got kicked out for getting in a fight first day, and then I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, what am I gonna do? I already didn't graduate on time. I already dishonored my parents. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do now?"
Yikes.
So then I
You're
went back.
Vietnamese?
Yeah, I'm Vietnamese.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that
Yeah,
was.
exactly. Bro. Can you imagine?
So you know.
What's crazy is they actually didn't know I didn't graduate. That's how disconnected my parents were with my life. They didn't ask like, "Hey, how come you didn't walk?"
But you would call them like traditional Vietnamese parents.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. But they were just too busy going through their own shit that you know they didn't know. They were one of those Asian parents that didn't know you were throwing away report cards. You know, I was the kid running home to make sure the mail is grabbed on time.
Would that be deemed as traditional?
What,
Like
that-
not
Yeah.
knowing about the report cards and stuff?
No, I would feel like traditional would be. They would know about the
Yeah.
report card. They'd be like, "Hey, what's up? I haven't seen a report card in like 5 years. What's going on?" You know, traditional Vietnamese parents, as far as being busy, yeah, they're all busy, all grinding. You immigrant parents,
Yeah.
all the same. But they were just so disconnected with the school system because they weren't educated. Also, they didn't know how it really worked.
So what high school did you go to?
I went to Valley.
Valley. Is a lot of Vietnamese people there?
Nah, bro, nah.
See, the reason I ask is like predominantly in Garden Grove District, Los
Oh, yeah.
Amigos,
Oh, yeah.
LQ.
You're the
Bosa,
opposite.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of Vietnamese folks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Kai Gritty's been one of my best friends since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
crazy.
I've been right close to Vietnamese family since
Yeah.
I was little. And the funny thing is, Kai's the only one of the homies that walked. Everybody else went to continuation school.
Wow.
Like we have a whole group of friends that go back as far as kindergarten.
That's awesome.
And he's the only one that walked. The rest of us went to I went to independent studies.
Yeah.
A couple of my homeboys went to regular continuation where it was like a half day, a couple days a week. But yeah, like you, independent studies, that shit saved my life.
Bro, for real.
It turned a key in my head that made me really judge traditional public school.
Yeah.
And then it also gave me the opportunity to grow the fuck up at 16 years old and get
Yeah.
a job and take care of my family.
100%.
And that was before my pops passed away, and he was down bad during that time. So I was able to be at the crib and help my mama take care of him. And
Yeah.
then I had my great grandmother who was in her 80s. So I was like, yo, this is actually
Great.
fire. And the beginning of my sophomore year, I was behind. My whole freshman year didn't get a single credit.
Yeah.
Because I was just failing all the way through. And it wasn't because I'm not intelligent.
Yeah.
It was because I'm like, fuck this place. So I was just never there.
Yeah.
And that was why they sent me to continuation school. And it's ironic because I never did my homework. I never showed up to school. And I went from that situation to a situation where your school essentially is just homework.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. Nobody teaches you shit. You got to read and do it. And then it was in that moment that I learned like, wow, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
And this is so easy. If I would have just went to school, I would have just been wasting time on the easiest shit.
That's the craziest part. I finished independent studies in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes, bro.
And I was like, damn, continuation school is supposed to be the whole summer.
Yes.
I was like, damn, I'm gonna waste my whole fucking summer being at school. That's the first time I ever took summer school, continuation school, right? And for me to finish in 3 weeks, I was like, holy crap.
It's all bullshit.
It really is.
How
Like,
the fuck does this take 9 months?
I think it's a scam to an extent. Like
Yeah.
I feel like high school and stuff is more about the connections you make with
Social.
people. More so, you're developing socially. You're getting to interact with people because you won't get that if
But
you're doing independent
that's-
studies as much. And you build these connections
Yeah.
with high school friends, whatever. You know, even if you don't keep them after that,
Yeah.
you're developing these relationships and learning how to like interact in the world.
Yeah.
Because, dude, it's the same thing for me. Where I got out of high school and I was like, I wasn't a good student. I was like straight C, sometimes D students. Like I copied my way to being able to graduate. I went to community college, everything, you know? And I always thought, I was like, man, am I dumb? Like, you know, I'm just like, I always ditched. I hated like going to school. Like just teachers never really taught me anything.
Yeah.
And when I got out and I went to college and I had this one good professor, just this one dude who like just changed my life. And then I was like, oh, I'm not dumb. I just wasn't trying. Or like, oh, these like this system that I'm in, like just
that
doesn't.
structure.
It doesn't fucking work for me. Like those structure stuff, like being able to bet on myself, being able to like, okay, like do it on my own way. I mean, like he like basically would tell us like, you have to do this. If you don't do it, you fail, and that's it.
Well, that's because the human experience is not standardized. The way we learn is not standardized, but the way we teach is standardized. And this is why it's a bunch of bullshit. Like I can't believe that in this day and age, with the internet at our fingers and the amount of people that are able to attest to the fact that the internet made their career, not anything they went to learn in no fucking trade school. I mean, trade schools sometimes fire.
That's a little bit more
You
specific.
know, but like regular community college, even universities, all the A through G requirements and all that bullshit. How is it that in 2023, the amount of successful people that say like, yeah, honestly, my success is attested to my social skills and the trades that I probably learned on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
How is no one thinking, maybe we should change the way this goes?
It's crazy because I've seen people from high school, the people who became the most successful were like the C students, like the dudes who were clowns in class, who were like kind of like sociable, who were like, you know, never like the straight. And I've seen the straight A students and I'm like, oh,
We call them peakers.
yeah.
Like they peaked in high school.
It's either you socially peaked or you fucking like academically, you were perfect straight edge and now you're kind of like going through the motions of life.
Yeah.
You know? And you know what's funny that I'm saying this right now is like, this is obviously a blanket statement and there's probably a significant amount of cases that what I'm saying is not true.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you were peaking in high school academically and you were just an honor roll student, were you or weren't you just going through the motions the way they expected you to? That's
definitely.
ultimately what led you there.
Definitely,
You just did what you were told, which is a beautiful thing. That's a great quality in the working force.
Yeah.
Right. But now your whole life is that. You just kind of do what you're told.
You have a
And just-
standardized life.
and fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. And we all know you're probably underpaid, undervalued. People don't give a fuck. People ignore you in the office. You know what I'm saying? And you went from being like president of student body to like now you're just chilling and you've been doing the same shit for fucking 5-6 years and you're miserable. And it's not your fault. You were just doing what you thought was the right thing. But
Yep.
this is what I'm saying is it all goes back to the faulty system.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The faulty infrastructure in the school system. I think it's because like this school system was built around the idea that you were gonna one day go like in high schools when you would learn trades like auto shop and home ec and all these different trades you could learn in high school. I feel like maybe I'm wrong in this. I have to look it up, but I feel like you probably could have learned shit like welding back in like the 60s,
You could.
70s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you was going out of high school into the working force when the industrial complex was in America.
Oh yeah, of course.
So then you were useful. Then all of that shit goes away and we take out all those classes, but we didn't think to change the infrastructure of schooling. We still have the same infrastructure of like get in line, raise your hand to speak. That's factory
Yeah,
learning.
dude.
The
That
same
is-
reason why
it
9 to
is.
5 is the thing.
Say
9
again?
to 5.
Oh,
thing
9 to
is
5.
Yeah,
for
it's
the
just
same
factory
reason.
hours.
It has
Yeah.
not changed for that same reason. You know,
Yeah.
it's like no one ever thought to go back and kind of rewrite something to be more efficient, right?
But how
Because
could you?
It's
How
it's
could you, bro?
difficult, bro. But I mean, it's. I feel like it's definitely slowly getting there. I think we're that generation as millennials where it's going to transition to where 9 to 5 is not going to be such a big deal. I mean, we're now transitioning to work from
at
home.
home.
Work from home is like the new independent studies,
Wow.
right?
Do you think it would have been that way without the penny?
No, I think
I
think
know.
it's if it wasn't for 2020, you would not have that
Damn,
shit.
are we seeing a silver lining?
Oh, I love 2020.
definitely.
People always look at me weird. I'm like, dude, 2020 was like I thrived.
Socially, it was lit. If you are able to be disciplined and be on top of your shit,
I'm also an introvert, so I'm like, oh, I don't gotta go out to all of Peter's fucking parties anymore. Like, I ain't gotta go socialize.
I was
Like,
struggling for sure.
I was going out to clubs every single weekend. Like Friday, Saturday, we'd go to fucking Commissary, Mansion, Copper Door, Proof Bar, Chapter 1, Vacation Bar. And I was like, I felt like I had to do this like every weekend. I'm like, oh yeah, gotta go support the homies. Oh, gotta go out, socialize, meet bitches, everything, whatever. And when it happened, I was like, oh, I don't have to do this. Like, I'm good. And then when everything came back, I'm like, no, I'm staying in.
Yeah, I think maybe you and I are different because I actually had to be there because I was throwing the events. You know, it was a job, right? And now that's not really so much of a job now. We don't focus on events as much. For me, I actually enjoy it more because before it was work. And things I had to deal with a lot of significant others during that time was like, damn, you're just going to go out and drink and talk to hella people?
but this is how you paying your
But
bills.
I'm like, yeah, this is work. You don't understand. People come out to hang out and drink and chill and kick it and
can
you know,
relate to that.
have a good time with the music choices that we have.
Yeah.
And you know, for significant others, they have a hard time kind of realizing there is a stark difference between work and going out to
And
party.
play.
Holy.
And sometimes, yeah, if you've never worked in that environment, like obviously in my current job, it's a lot of events.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot of events in other states, other cities.
That's
And I'm
even
constantly
more.
traveling. And so like the explanation that I'm not just some fucking degenerate, you know, that this is actually a nice, well-paid
Degenerate.
Yeah. My degeneracy, is that the word? My
Yeah,
degeneration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Triple H.
Yo.
Is not
Generation X. Cheers to Triple
you know,
H,
two
man.
teardrops in a bucket.
Yeah.
I got 2 words for you.
Cheers, yo.
Is it? It's not suck it. Is it?
It is
Suck it.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm just really bad at remembering lines.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about identity and like how you identify yourself, knowing that you're from a mixed background, and how that plays into like, you know, the way you've grown up,
Yeah.
and the way that affects your music and just your artistry in general.
Oh, okay. Where do we start though? Like we start with just the culture part?
Start with the
Let's start
culture.
with the culture
Yeah.
part, and I did want to touch on what you told me, what your daddy said. That was a really good line.
okay,
You know,
we
that
can
was
do
that was good.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I am multicultural. On my biological father's side, I'm Chamorro, which is the indigenous people of Guam. Not to be confused with Guamanian, which is anybody that's from Guam.
Oh,
you don't
okay.
have to be Chamorro.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like it's like the difference between being Cherokee and American.
Learn
Just
something
like
every day.
it's like the difference between living in Hawaii and being native Hawaiian.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So on Guam, there's Chamorro people, but there's also Filipino people,
Yeah.
Japanese people, Korean people that find their way to Guam, but
Yeah.
they're all Guamanian
Yeah.
to the Americans. But Chamorro is a very specific thing. So I'm a Tahaji, which is an indigenous Chamorro family on my biological father's side, and on my biological mother's side, I'm black and white. Identity-wise, both my parents went to prison when I was a baby boy, like 9 months old, like around. But I actually, obviously, I was too young to remember, but somewhere pre-collective memory, they went to prison.
Yeah.
And the only parents I've ever known are my mom's mom and dad, which is Herschel and Tina. And I feel like everybody who knows me knows Herschel, because how could you fucking not know my daddy? And Tina's my mama.
Yeah.
You know, so I identify. I don't even know how I identify, to be honest with you. This is an ongoing struggle for myself. Growing up in Santa Ana and being in a city that's predominantly Mexican, and I look like a Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how I identify. I always tell people I feel like an honorary Latino, and all my Latino homies, like, they know. Voice, you know,
Yeah,
Viva
no.
la raza, homie.
You get the Latino
You know what I'm
card.
saying?
yeah.
Orale, orale. You know, but you can't be from Santa Ana or LA or anywhere in Southern California without being a little bit Mexican.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to accept that. I used to grow my hair out and make sure I get the visible Micronesian, Polynesian tattoos so motherfuckers know, you know what I'm saying? And then the way that I speak and all of that shit, like I was like, yeah, I'm not Mexican. I used to be I'm not Mexican, you know? And then eventually I'm like, man, what? Like, I don't actually have to hate that so much.
Yep.
But I think it's also just like feeling alone and not being honored for what you are versus what you're perceived as.
Yeah.
But, you know, like from a perception standpoint, I've learned over many years that the world does not revolve around the truth. It revolves around perception. That was something my daddy had to mention to me when I was like, I was hurting, man. As a kid, I grew up in a black family, went to a black church, learned music from black folks. The only group of people in my life that fully loved me was my black family, was all my, you know, like all my people that I went to church with, and my cousin, my aunties and my uncles. It was all my daddy's family that really loved on me. You know what I'm saying? My island side of my family, we were very separated until I was in high school. And then when I got to high school, being a Chamorro and not like Samoan, which is the predominant island community in Santa Ana, it was also like, yeah, we fuck with you, but you're not really Samoan, you know. And that took years for me to like stop trying to be Samoan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though I'm a Uso, bro, like nobody can take that from me. You know, like you ask my Usos, I'm a Uso's Uso, right?
Yeah.
But like the identity thing was an ongoing battle, and I think like when I was a little boy, it started, and I remember having a conversation with my dad, who was not a very, I don't mean to make my dad sound like he wasn't intelligent. He wasn't like the most articulate man.
Yeah.
He was a hard-working man, born in 1938, McNeil, Arkansas, dropped out of school in the 4th grade. You know, he wasn't necessarily the most poetic with words.
Yeah.
But he did tell me as a kid, like, you are not what you are what people think you are. If Santa Ana PD sees you going running down the street, they're not going to say, oh, you're half Pacific Islander, black, white, male running down the street. They're going to be like, Hispanic male, white T-shirt running down the street. That's what you are. And the moment you accept that, you'll relieve yourself of a lot of these like desires to be accepted for who you are on the inside. And I think like that was one of those things that as a child, I didn't really like know that it was going to go on, that at 32, I'm about to be 32 in a couple days, that at 32 years old, I would still be hearing my daddy talk to me, but I still struggle, bro. Listen, when I open my mouth, I look like a fucking Mexican, bro. But when I open my mouth, people are like, well, he sounds like he's black. He doesn't sound like he's forcing it.
Yeah.
You know, and because I'm not, what the fuck? This is the only way I know how to talk. This is the only way I know how to speak. And when people look at me and then they see the tattoos too, and they're like, well, he looks Latino, but he's got all these tattoos, my whole left sleeve, half my right arm, my neck, my fucking face. It's all these like Pacific Islander attributes, but I'm not sure because he got a skinny nose, he's got colored eyes, he's not that big, you know. Is he Mexican trying to be Pacific Islander?
Yeah.
Is he Mexican trying to be black? You know, and I used to like be very insecure about that, to the point like what we had talked about earlier, like make sure that my daddy's pictures are everywhere.
Yeah.
Pictures of me and my daddy, you know. My dad passed away 12 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it'll
Rest
be
in
12
peace.
years. Yeah, it'll be 12 years this year. And when my daddy died, I felt like I lost part of my validation. Yeah. You know, it was just like, my daddy used to come pick me up from school, and all these motherfuckers used to be like, damn, fool, stop trying to be black, fool. Stop trying to be black.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
daddy come pick me up, I'll be like, yeah. Eat a dick,
told
motherfucker,
you.
that's
What's
my
up now?
dad. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like when my daddy died, I felt real alone in that world of like identity. You know what I'm saying? And so as I've gone into my adulthood and like formed a relationship with my solitude, I've also formed a relationship with my comfort in the ambiguity. Is that the word?
Ambiguity,
You know, and like I formed a relationship with that, and now I take pride in that. I take pride in being an honorary Chicano, and I take pride in looking like a Chicano. That's a beautiful thing to look like. I could look like a lot worse things. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I could look like a fucking Nazi. Yeah. You know, like it being part white. You know what I'm saying? I could look like a straight white boy. Yeah. And I've had people tell me I look like a white boy. You know, even my own auntie who's black, and I was in Miami with her, and we had a whole like kind of debate about this, and she was like, here in Miami, you're a white boy. Oh, wow. And that shit hurt me. But then at the same time, I'm like, I cannot be hurt by people's perceptions.
Yep.
I have my own perceptions of everything in the world, and I'll die by most of those perceptions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like the moment I relinquished myself of being responsible for how other people view me was the moment I felt free. Hey. And my identity then became whatever you want, Playboy. Yeah. However you view me is who I am. And I will not lose an ounce of sleep if you think I'm a piece of shit, because I try my best to not be. I will not lose an ounce of sleep if you think I'm not justified in having this accent.
Yeah.
Because I don't give a fuck what you think, you know? And I mean that with love and respect. I'm still gonna love you back. Of course. You know, but if you think like, this Mexican motherfucker trying to sound like he's black or whatever, I've learned that my identity is whatever you want it to be. You understand what I'm saying? And how you perceive me will then dictate our relationship. Yeah. You know, the same way how I perceive you dictates our relationship. Yeah. That was the long-winded question.
No.
Long-winded
answer.
answer.
That was great. That was fucking
bro.
good.
No, thank you,
Because
bro.
I see that in the way you're saying, where it's like, you have this thing that your daddy told you when you were young, and it's still sticking with you to this day. But now you've grown and you've developed experiences, and you can adapt to when you see someone perceiving you a certain way, you know, and it doesn't affect you in that same insecure way it did when you were younger.
Yeah.
You know, you've gotten to be like, okay, I can be, if you think I'm something else, good.
Yeah.
There's so much good to take from these different things you're perceiving me as, you know?
Yes.
So my question is, do you find yourself adapting and code switching to different people, what they expect from you? And I know at the same time that I feel like you're the kind of person who would be like, yeah, I'll code switch for you, adapt. That doesn't change who I am, because at the core, I am who I am. But I have enough confidence and like self-worth to like, you know, yeah, I can switch here and here, but I'm still me.
You kind of answered it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right? It's like, real talk though. That's a beautiful way to put it, because I believe I am a malleable human.
Yep.
We all should be, for
I'll say 2 points, right? The first point is, yes, I don't necessarily code switch, because my code is my code.
Yeah.
And if I do switch my code, I call that growth. But it doesn't happen in rooms. It happens over time and in my own solitude, right? But yes, of course, in professional environments, I may not say like, fuck, shit, bitch, you know what I'm saying? And I'll maybe like the things that are part of my regular vocabulary, I'll switch up. I would say that my dialect doesn't necessarily change, or my accent doesn't necessarily change too much, but I've definitely caught myself, you know, when I'm around the Usos, I start talking through my throat like, man, what's up? What's like, what's cracking? You know what I'm saying? Like all of that shit that all my Usos will understand, right? And then when I'm around, like, bro, when I went to visit my daddy's family in Arkansas, my girl was like, you became a different motherfucker. Like, yeah, damn, you look like my dad. You understand what I'm talking about? Like, all of a sudden, I was from Arkansas, you know, it's like, it took like 30 minutes with all my dad's brothers, and I was all of a sudden Boomhauer.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there, talk about www.com, and you got them naked chicks on there, man. You go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
And then at work, obviously, like I switch it up, and just like I find myself, if I'm around white folks, a little bit will switch up and change. But then at the same time, I always, you know, I'm always the guy with the face tattoos, and I'm always the motherfucker that's from the hood. You know, sometimes to a fault. You know, sometimes to a part where people expect a certain energy from me that is not accurate. You know what I'm saying? But the funny thing about the malleability part is, like, from an artist standpoint, I am very drawn to artists like Kendrick and artists like Anderson .Paak and Tupac Shakur, because these artists are able to tell you in one song, you know, they can talk about things like Pac talks about in Brenda's Got a Baby and Changes and Dear Mama, and these beautiful things that obviously represent his intelligence and represent like his ability to be in touch with his emotions and his perception of the world when it comes to like our emotional and our connection through love, right? Then on the flip side, that same guy can turn around and be like, that's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker, get money. And I believe him both times. Yeah. I believe him. Kendrick can talk about, you know, Sing About Me and Blacker to Berry and You and these records that are very vulnerable. Then turn around and be like, girl, I know you want this dick. You know what I'm saying? Like
PMP.
I believe him both times. And that is a reflection of the malleability that is the human experience. And sometimes we are some ignorant motherfuckers, and that's who we are. And sometimes we are very in touch and intelligent motherfuckers, and that's who we are. Both of those are accurately who we are.
Do you think in general, like the way the human mind works is everyone wants to try to fit this criteria on this person in the way they look and not really understand that their background actually changes really who they are. You know, for instance, like, I'm Vietnamese, right? Asian people in general are supposed to be hella smart. I want to say I'm hella smart. I've made some really terrible decisions.
You're very intelligent. Don't ever say
Thank you. Intelligent is different. I wouldn't say smart in that. As far as an academic standpoint, right? Because getting C's and degrees, that stays true to me 100%. But as far as like everything else goes, right? Like if you look at me, people think I'm academically driven, like. I should be smart. I should be book smart.
Probably got a degree.
You should be a doctor.
Yeah, I should be a doctor. I remember, this is how far it goes. I remember being in high school. Was it the SATs or some shit like that? I forget. C. What was that thing called? Yeah, you see how bad it is? My memory sucks. But I remember this dude. It was a Mexican dude next to me, and he was like, yo, Chino, let me copy off your test. And I don't know if you remember, but back then the Scantrons were A and B.
Yeah.
So B, completely different tests.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, even if you copied off me and it was the same test, you probably fail. Yeah. Being that is completely different, I was like, yo, you got a different test. He's like, I don't give a fuck, Buto. I'm about to shank you. You give me your I was like, all right,
Take the test then,
Yeah, take the
homeboy.
test. Take the test. I mean, obviously.
But if you fail, doggy, it is not on me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's crazy because if you just looked at me as a person instead of like the way I look visually, you would just know that I never tried in school. That was not my thing. I was not the guy to cheat off of. I was the guy cheating off of other people.
Yeah.
You know,
Same.
but that's the perception of things, right? And everyone thinks everyone's in a box, like you're only this way or that way. But what people don't understand is that where we're at now, it's transitioning to where everyone is gonna be mixed.
Yeah.
The box is gonna be bigger and broader than ever, and you
Well, in
cannot
cities
generalize.
like this,
Yeah.
you
Cities
travel
like this.
outside of like
Oh,
the
you
metropolitan
gonna-
cities.
yeah.
That is not the case.
Yeah, of course. But I do believe that in the future, hundreds of years from now, that will be the case. Maybe some cities are slow to catch up. I do think that's true. I've traveled enough, even outside of the cities. I've traveled outside the states. You know what I mean? Like in different countries, I'm like,
It's,
there is
it's
a
true
percep-
there. It's true there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
of
in other
course.
countries, like
Yeah.
like if you go to Vietnam, you find diversity.
Oh no, you
No,
do
no,
not.
no, not diversity, but the box. You know what I mean? There is slowly diversity, but there's that box. Like, and it's not even a box as far as like skin color anymore. Because I go there and they're shocked that I'm Vietnamese. So what do you mean? You're taller than the Vietnamese people. You're not as dark skinned.
And you're full Vietnamese.
I'm full Vietnamese. Oh, I mean, I haven't done like a 23andMe or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. but-
Whole time he's half black.
yeah, exactly. You just never know. But no, I have a homie. His name is Hector. Shout out to Hector. Right? He identifies as Mexican, which anyone else who sees him, they would say he's Mexican. Right? He did a 23andMe, and he's like 53% European. And I
What
was
does
like,
that even mean? Bro?
Wait, who?
What does that
Hector.
even mean? The
Oh.
whole world is 53%.
Well, that's what
European.
I'm saying. Though
we
That's
all
what I'm
been
saying,
like
though.
conquered
But
and raped.
The fact that he identifies more as a Mexican person, he's always and he speaks about it a lot. Where he's like, I don't really fuck with white people.
I mean, that's a pretty common.
Exactly, very common.
among
Very,
non-whites,
very
even
common.
among whites.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. Now it's coming
even
amongst whites. But it gets to a point where now he's like, you just gotta understand how people perceive you, and it goes back to what you're saying, And now he's like, it doesn't even matter what it says on 23andMe. Like I might be 53% European, but to the world I'm Mexican,
And
that's
culture
how I
is
see
community,
myself.
baby.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, 100%.
Culture is community. You know what I'm saying? And that's a very there's a thin line to be drawn there, especially when it comes to blackness.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
But my thing is like I find myself recognizing that from a perception standpoint, I have to limit what I believe the reliability of my own words are. You know what I'm saying? Like when people look at me, if I was on this podcast and I was talking about blackness, that's fucking stupid. Because if a stranger scrolls across this podcast,
Never know.
they're like, what the fuck does this motherfucker have to say about anything?
Yeah.
And I also recognize that my brother, AJ, who presents black, and I don't. You understand? I may talk about my blackness all I want on the inside. My brother presents black, and he's a what we call a light-skinned black. Right? Right? I can never sit here and lie to myself and pretend I know his experience.
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that would be fucking ridiculous of me. And so when it comes to like the idea of what our experience is our experience is valid. But truth be told, this whole world does not revolve around your experience. It revolves around everyone else's experience of you, right? Everyone's individual lives and their worlds revolve around how everyone else perceives you. And it's like, that's such a taboo thing to say.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh,
But it
yeah,
should be
yeah.
spoken
Fuck
about.
what everybody else thinks. Fuck the haters and all that
Yeah.
bullshit. It's like, nah, the trajectory of your life is how you make other people feel about you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And how you navigate that is your own business. And that's a slippery slope.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting, right? Like you're navigating in a world where their perceptions are different than yours, their backgrounds are different from yours. So even if you see another homie see you this way, another person who comes from a different background will see you a different way.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know how I want to intertwine this, but it goes back to you ever heard about love languages?
Yeah, of course.
So it's very similar in that way. It's like, let's say I show my love, right? And to me, that's love. And to another person, it might not be like that. But it's the perception and how they take it in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the disconnect because we always feel like we should only talk like a specific way and like with specific people in specific situations. But realistically, it's how they interpret it. And it's not like you're changing who you are. Like for me, I've done the same. You know what I mean? I grew up around like a bunch of hood gangster like Asian
Right.
people, and maybe said some words I shouldn't have when I was younger, or talking a dialect that I shouldn't have.
Right.
And in the same like year, I could go get a job interview and be like, yes, I'm very passionate about cars. I would love to sell all your Beamers through the door,
right.
you know, marked up as much as I can. But it's still me navigating through this world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like you clearly experience so much as a person, though, and you can't please everyone. It just goes back to you cannot help the way people perceive you.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like you could give your most authentic self
right.
and hope that they genuinely judge you to the lens that you're trying to hope them, like hope that they would understand. Right. But that doesn't always happen. Right. And sometimes it's like when you were saying, like, I don't lose sleep over it, you know,
Anymore. Sometimes I do.
Yeah. And
I try not to.
It's a struggle for us. It's a struggle because sometimes I also do lose sleep in those cases. And it's not always just a skin color thing. It's not always like an ethnic thing, you know, like, I lose sleep sometimes in the way where it becomes professional sometimes, where people expect me to talk a certain way, you know, act a certain way. And sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. I remember one of the clients that I landed was one of my biggest clients. I actually had to stop being professional. And I was like, excuse me for my language, but that's some bullshit that you're going through. And he was like, wow, you said that? That actually resonates with me because I didn't know his background and how he's going to translate. And that's the thing. When you meet people, it's not like you know them 100%. You're just meeting them. Yeah. You can only present the most authentic self that you have right now, unless you're in like a specific scenario, right? It's like I'm in a job interview. I'm assuming this could be a.
But why? Like even in the job interview, and I may be reaching here.
Yeah.
But you should still be offering
for
your
sure.
authentic self.
For sure.
Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself to be pretty fucking miserable.
Well, I think one of the things about job interviews is that everyone's so fucking cookie cutter. You know, everyone's fucking learning how to act like this person. Like this is one of the things that I learned through fucking interviews, right? And job interviews I'm speaking about. I used to think I was the shit at job interviews because I'm very malleable. I'm very fucking like I can adapt, right? I could be
whatever you want me to be.
I could be who the fuck you want.
And because
me to
you've
be,
had
right?
like 30 plus jobs too.
Yeah, also that's true. You know, I had a lot of interviews, but I remember one time where their perception of me didn't fit, and it's because my perception of them didn't fit. Mm-hmm. And I took this job. I remember this is during the housing boom, or sorry, the collapse. Right, it was 2007, 2008. I became a mortgage broker. Well, not at the time, but I tried to. And this guy interviewed me. He was like a 19-year-old white guy or whatever's. And all I heard was like people in mortgages are killing it. They're making money, and all I cared about was money back then. I came in, and then he was like, "Oh, why do you want to do mortgage?" In my head, I was like, "I want to help out families. I want to help get them homes." Yeah. That's what he wants to hear. That's my perception of him, right? You're a mortgage broker. That's what you do. And he's like, "Fuck that shit." I was like shocked because it was the first time I ever had someone interview me cuss. And he was like, "No, you do it for the fucking money. You want to ball out? That's what you fucking do."
That's the type of boss you want.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I didn't understand. I was so taken back because my perspective of anyone who interviewed you was supposed to be professional.
Yeah. Well, what it did was it actually shifted your idea of professionalism.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they're like I talked to you about this in the break. It's like Nipsey Hussle was going into big $1 million conversations with fucking 12 chains on, and I guarantee you he wasn't talking like the motherfuckers that were talking to him. Right?
Yeah.
And so the perception of professionalism is all it's doing. And this may be controversial, but in my opinion, it's just getting unwhite.
Dude, I was thinking the same fucking thing. Yes.
Like there was an establishment that was made 100 some years ago that professional is white.
God.
Professional is not long hair.
Yep.
Professional is not dreadlocks and tattoos. Professional is not Vietnamese. Professional is not Mexican or Salvadorian. Professional is white. And they won't say that out loud.
No.
But once upon a time, that was the like if you didn't present this way, which we all know,
Yeah.
happens to also look a lot like being white.
Yep.
True.
Then you weren't professional. But what this guy did was showed you that as time has progressed, the idea of professionalism has changed.
Yeah.
Right? I've worked for tons of agencies and clothing lines and fucking production companies that have changed the entire culture of what it is to be professional. When I worked at the Boys and Girls Club,
Hey, shout out to
obviously,
Carolyn, though.
you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody at Boys and Girls Club. It's a beautiful movement.
Yeah.
But the Boys and Girls Club that I particularly worked at had a problem with my tattoos. Right? And this was before I had neck tattoos
year
and
was
face
that?
tattoos. This was in 2000. I left Boys and Girls Club in 2017, maybe 2018.
Okay.
But like I had over the course of 2 years, I had slowly started withdrawing myself from the program because I was finding other opportunities in what I do now.
Yeah.
Right. But I loved what I did, and I loved working with these young people. I loved showing them all the possibilities of the world. But I have a full sleeve on my left and a half sleeve on my right. All Pacific Islander tattoos. And I don't know if y'all know this, but that's where tattoos started.
Yeah.
Right? Like tattoos come from the Pacific Islands, specifically Samoa, you know?
Yep.
For you to ask me to cover my tattoos is you asking me to cover who I am as an identity and as a culture.
That's you need to whiten yourself.
Because in their opinion, that's not professional to have tattoos. In my world, it's a rite of passage. It's an honor to
norm.
have tattoos. You understand? And everybody in my culture has tattoos. There might have been some religious break off as people migrated and things, but for people who identify as a Pacific Islander, you fucking got tattoos, right? By the time you're 18,
Especially face tattoos,
Yeah.
right? I've seen some people.
I mean, that's a little
straight
more
up-
rare than you would think,
Yeah, yeah.
but at least visible tattoos,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
they're on your face or your arms or your legs or your hips, whatever. There's tattoos that people can see in the workforce. Maybe not the hips and the legs, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what you're doing, but you understand my point.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
So to
absolutely.
be in that environment and to be told that my tattoos are going to be career limiting decisions is crazy.
That's
Because look at me
crazy.
now, bro. I work in a very good job. You understand what I'm saying?
You
And I
won't
was-
say who.
yeah, we. Let's just say I work in a place that is not going anywhere anytime soon. And they brought me on, and I was worried about my face tattoos and my neck tattoos and all of this shit. And they have proven to me that the idea of professionalism is changing. You understand what I'm saying?
love that.
And it's not just this place. Places that I worked at before. I've had my neck tattoo for years before I had my face tattoos in the last 2 years. And I found myself, nobody ever questioned me. If anything, all it did was further validate my weight in whatever it is that I'm creating. I often create content or I often create art around culture and around the streets and around whether it's fucking hip hop culture or street culture, whatever, dance culture.
Yeah.
I'm often creating art for people that look and walk and talk like me. So for you to tell me that I'm not professional enough to be in this environment is crazy. And as I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years, that culture is changing. And
Yeah,
that guy that
100%.
interviewed you is attest to that.
Yeah.
Like he was showing you, like, look, I get money.
That shit was
motherfucker.
2007,
You know what I'm
2008
saying?
too.
And
yeah.
and that was like the beginning of the wheels. It takes one guy, and then a few guys that are like him in their respective spaces to start changing them. Like this sounds so dumb. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
yeah.
Oh, bro, don't even.
You know what I'm about to get to, right?
All right, yeah.
Like somebody's got to break the wheel.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The same wheel that rolls over motherfuckers, somebody's got to break the wheel.
Yep.
And that symbol it resonates really well in environments like what you was talking about in that job interview. You was over here ready to be buttoned up, and this
Yep.
motherfucker was like, nah, fuck you.
Yep.
You're here to get some motherfucking money.
Yep.
Because that's the truth. You don't give a fuck about brokerage, bro.
Yo,
You know what
that's
I'm
true.
saying?
You ever seen that Dave Chappelle skit or stand up where he was like, "Oh, so why do you want to work at Baskin Robbins?" And he's like, "Because I have a passion." Bitch, I'm fucking broke.
That's the realest shit, bro.
Yeah.
That was fucking
Why would you
unreal.
ask me such a stupid question?
Yeah.
This is indicative of your stupidity.
Yeah,
Bitch,
exactly.
why do you work at Baskin
Yeah,
Robbins? That's the real
exactly.
question. You know what I'm saying? If I could go back in time, I wish I had the balls to switch up those interviews and be like, well, why do you want to work at Boomers in Fountain Valley? Bitch, why do you work here?
You worked at
You
Boomers
know
in-
damn well you don't give a fuck about Boomers.
You worked at Boomers in
Yeah, I
Fountain
worked
Valley?
at Boomers when I was probably like 17, 16. Man, yeah, I was actually 16, yeah.
They closed down.
Yeah, I'm aware. You know, I met Kobe Bryant there.
You make Kobe?
Yeah, I met Kobe Bryant at Boomers, bro. That shit was like, and listen, it gets worse. I mean, it sounds good, but it gets bad. Oh. I'm gonna tell you the whole story.
All right, Rance.
Oh,
Okay. Rest in peace to the greatest that ever lived.
Oh, cheers to
It's about cheers to that, man. I was about 16, 17 years old working at Boomers in Fountain Valley. It was the one off of was that Magnolia?
Yeah.
Magnolia and Warner?
Warner, yeah. And it was about 10 p.m. and I had already been working there for about a year maybe. And I was working, remember the Ferris wheel that used to be there?
Yep.
So obviously you're getting paid minimum wage, and it's a really, looking back, a very shitty working environment, right? Your main priority, if y'all can remember back to like your early teenage jobs, if you were working late into the night, when you got close to being off, what was the only thing on your mind?
wait to go home.
Can't wait to go home.
Really,
right?
I was the complete opposite. I was like, when people wait in line to clock out, because back then you had to clock out on one, usually PC, right? I'd be the last one because I'm gonna squeeze every fucking
Right, yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, that's a very nuanced part of
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
eventually, like the grand scheme of things, is like I can't wait to
get the
fucking
fuck
get
outta
out of
here,
here.
yeah.
Right. So I'm closing up the Ferris wheel. It's like 9:58, bro, p.m. And the park closes at 10. The Ferris wheel probably takes about 6 minutes to run. I'm closing up the Ferris wheel. This beautiful Latin lady with two little black girls walks up and she's like, "Can we ride the Ferris wheel one more time?" And I was like, "Nah, it's not gonna
Damn, you
Fuck
said
no.
nah.
No, fuck no. I didn't know who the fuck this was. So I'm like, nah, I'm sorry, ma'am. Like, but no. locking up. My boy Daniel, big motherfucker. You would have thought he was a Uso. He's a big dude, curly hair, long curly hair. Walks up and he's like, "Yo, I'll run it, bro. Don't trip." And I'm looking at him at the side of my face. And you guys, you have to know the layout of boomers, right? So I'm standing on like the north side of the Ferris wheel, facing south towards the rock climbing wall. And to my left is the batting cages, which is the employee entrance to the Ferris wheel.
I know exactly where that is.
Exactly. Like there's that little walkway between the Ferris wheel and the batting cage. Because you go to boomers when you a kid, right? And so to my left here comes Daniel. He's like, "Yo, I'll run it, bro." And I was like, "Bro, if you don't," and I'm telling him the whole shit, "You got to close it like this. You got to lock this certain thing. You got to pull this lever. Bro, please, because if you don't close it right, I'm going to get a write-up because I'm on the Ferris wheel tonight." Yeah. I'm backing up. He knows what I'm talking about when it comes to the layout. I open the gate behind me. I'm backing up. I was like, "Daniel, don't fuck it up, bro, because I already have a write-up. I can't get another write-up or I'm going to get fired." I'm walking. I step on somebody's shoes. And I turn around, I was like, "My bad, man." And when I turn around and say, "My bad, man," I just see a motherfucker's chest. And I look up, and it's Kobe Bryant. And it dawns on me that that's Vanessa and Gigi and Natalia, right? I just seen a beautiful Latina lady, and I see that it's Kobe, and it just immediately rushes over me. And this is like a god to me. Yeah. So I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And he was like, he wouldn't even, so he had his whole Nike tracksuit zipped up to his neck. You know what I'm saying? Like zipped all the way. He had his hands in his pockets, and he wouldn't look at me. He's looking at his family, and I'm like right here to him, right? And he was like, "It's cool, man." And I'm like, "No, I am so sorry." He's like, "It's cool, man."
Do you think that your homie who said yes already knew?
Yeah. Yes. So I'll tell you, like, so I leave and like my heart is crumbling, bro. And I'm talking about like I grew up a diehard Lakers fan. Yeah. My daddy was a super Lakers fan. And here I am. I have the greatest of all time. And you know he used to live in Newport Beach, right? So it was right there. Yeah. Stepped on this motherfucker's shoes, turn around, look at him, and it just like I sank into myself. And I look at my boy, and he looks at me and he smiles, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go home now." I'm gonna go clock out. My mama comes to pick me up, and I tell her like, "I just met Kobe in the worst conditions possible." The next day, Kobe gave him a $150 tip to run that Ferris wheel the last time. Yo. Signed a bunch of shit for people, took a bunch of shit for all the workers and shit like that. And my boss at the time was like, "Kobe, if you don't mind me asking, like, why are you here? Why are you at Boomers in Fountain Valley?" And according to him, he told my boss, "This is the only place that I could take my daughters where I'm not going to be bum rushed by people. Where I don't have to call ahead and be like, 'Hey, this is Kobe Bryant. I'm calling ahead to go to Disneyland where we have to get escorts and go in the exits everywhere. Boomers, I could just pull up and stay low key. And if it gets overwhelming on a Thursday night, we can dip. And I'm not far from home.'" It's true. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the one and only time I ever met. I had seen Kobe in other instances at games or at, different events and stuff, but like from a distance. But I was right there. And my dumb ass said no to his wife. And I stepped on his sneakers and turned around and didn't get the cue the first time when he was like, "It's cool, bro." And I'm like, "No, but I'm sorry, Kobe." And he's like, "It's cool, man." I'm like, "Really? I'm so sorry." "It's cool, man. Go away, little boy." And then he gave that guy, Daniel, he gave him $150. Yeah.
That's crazy because, like, to be honest, like, a lot of people don't know anything about, like, Santa Ana, right? Like, if I travel outside the fucking states, people are like, "Where's Sam?"
Right, I tell people I'm from LA.
They're like, "Oh, you mean LA?" Like, not. I'm one of the few people. I'm like, "No, not fucking LA, Orange County." And not regular.
That's crazy because I'm the opposite.
Really?
I definitely don't say like, well, I mean, I've been in LA for almost 7 years now.
Yeah.
I'm, at this point, I'm a Spring Street baby,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
on Spring Street?
I live on Spring Street, Spring and 7th. Yeah, I'm in the cut, baby. But like real downtown, that's what we call it. Not like near the Staples Center downtown, like real downtown, like.
But not quite Skid Row.
Yeah, I mean, we basically Skid Row starts 1 block away.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point that I'm getting to is like when I'm in New York or I'm in other places and they ask where I'm from, sometimes I'll say Santa Ana, but it's easier to say LA. Yeah. But if I do say Santa Ana, they'll say like Orange County, and I'll be like, "Nah, Santa Ana."
Really?
I don't ever say Orange County.
Oh, because of the perception of it. Yeah,
and also too, like everybody who knows anything about anything, and people get all butthurt about this shit, but ultimately Santa Ana is a different land than the rest of Orange County. And so I'm not from Orange County. I'm from Santa Ana.
It's different.
I am not. You ain't never seen me put like 1503 on no shit. It's 1901 every single time. And people could say that's stupid or whatever, but every Santanero knows the difference. And everybody who's not from Santa Ana that has a problem with that is usually mad because they're not from Santa Ana too.
100%, bro.
But I love the rest of the juice. Buena Park, Anaheim, everything basically Santa Ana and north, I got love for. Costa Mesa and south, y'all can go eat a dick.
I'm on right on the cusp. I'm on. You know where Sunflower is?
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean it like that. But what I meant,
He's actually from Costa Mesa.
I grew up in Santa Ana, moved to Costa Mesa 6 years ago.
it's like more of a general thing, like those cultures. And
I'm
we all
one
know,
street away now.
Bro, we all know what happened during the George Floyd protests,
Yeah.
like in Huntington Beach, and that's like there's a sentiment that is shared. Like maybe I'll go as far as Irvine and South, not so much Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa can be like a blend of both. They're like the overlapping gray area, right? But everything from Santa Ana North is a different world from South County. You know what I'm saying? So when people get at me too, and they're like, "You're from Orange County," it's a weird thing to navigate because I'm like, yeah, I guess technically, but like, no, I'm from Santa Ana, and if you knew anything about anything, you would know what I mean by that.
It's funny because even now, like I still say, I live in Costa Mesa now, but people ask me where I'm from. I'm like, oh, I'm from Santa Ana. You know, it's different because you say you're from Costa Mesa, it feels more like. And maybe people who don't live here don't understand where it's like, oh, it sounds more like Newport, it sounds more like Laguna Hills,
When I
Woods,
say
whatever,
Orange
you know?
County.
Yeah,
Right.
in more Orange County.
Yeah,
Do you feel like in general that came from the fucking show, The OC?
without question,
Dude,
everything.
yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Because I was
too.
watching
Yes.
that show, I was like, that's the OC?
Yeah.
I was like, what are
not
you
the
talking
OC.
about? Like,
Yeah,
this shit
and
is
think
not-
about it, right? The representation of Los Angeles came out of NWA, Boys in the Hood, Baby Boy. Like all the ideas of what is Los Angeles came from media products.
Yeah.
Came from Dr. Dre and Eazy-E. We're leaving out the fact that places like Rolling Heights is also LA.
Yeah.
Places like fucking Beverly Hills is also LA. Palos Verdes is also
Covina,
LA.
yeah.
Hermosa
Rodeo,
Beach,
Downey.
fucking Redondo Beach. All these motherfucking places that are
yeah.
like this low key the same as Newport are also LA. So this weird ass beef between Orange County and LA is so lame.
That is weird as
It's the
fuck,
lamest
right?
shit I ever heard, bro. You know who, like, Orange County heads, especially in the rap game, are always like, man, fuck LA, fuck LA. You know who's not saying fuck OC? LA.
That's pretty funny.
Well,
I think that's so funny.
feel-
I think that's pretty funny.
I feel
Yeah.
like there's maybe a little nuance to that, right? Because I feel like the reason why they don't say like fuck OC is because in general,
Not big
people
enough.
no, I mean not just big enough, but they don't even recognize.
They do, though. They do, but they also know us well. Like, I think that there's like a chip on the shoulder for anybody that's from the hood in Orange County, right? Santa Ana, Anaheim, Buena Park. Like, it's everywhere. Garden Grove, Stanton, fucking even parts of La Habra got hoods.
Yeah,
you know
of
what I'm saying?
course,
Like,
of
there's no taking that away. I'm not one to advocate for gaslighting trauma.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, trauma happens in
It's
a
not the
lot
trauma
of places,
Olympics,
Every city.
right?
right?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like in Orange County, there's a chip on our shoulder because it's like obviously the perception of Orange County is that we got money, you know, and we got opportunity and privilege out here, which is not untrue for anybody in America. You're from America, bro, right? But my point is that particularly in Orange County, like I just said, when somebody says, "Oh, you from Orange County?" No, I'm from Santa Ana. Right, there's a difference, and it's more
100%.
than pride in that sense, because there is a nuance that everybody from OC understands the difference between Santa Ana and the rest of the county. But if I'm from Anaheim or Buena Park or Stanton or Garden Grove or all these other places that got real hoods and real trauma and real pain and real loss and real poverty and real struggle,
Yeah.
I would feel some type of way if a motherfucker looked at me and tried to invalidate my pain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I got homies from all over Orange County that really, I'm like, damn, man, you, much like me and my family and my sister and everybody been through some fucked up shit that is not much different from my homeboys from Compton, my homeboys from East LA. East LA and Santa Ana to me is like jarringly similar.
Really?
Like in a way that when I go to East LA, I'm like, damn, this is crazy how similar this is.
Can
It's
you
not-
explain? Because I've I've been to East LA. I don't live there. I don't. No, I have homies out there, but it's not quite the same as to hear like the same
Well,
similarities.
you also in downtown. You feel me? This is where you at right now.
I'm,
like-
I'm in downtown now, but where I live is not downtown. Like literally, it was.
So in my opinion, a place like Minnie Street,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah, for sure.
bro,
yeah.
the feeling I get when I'm in Minnie Street is not very different from the feeling I get when I'm in East LA.
yeah.
Like, I'm in somebody else's hood,
Yeah.
and it could jump off at any time. When I'm
No,
in Southside
100%.
Santa Ana, when I'm in Westside Santa Ana, when I'm around the hoods where like places like Los Compadres or Santa Anita or Middleside,
Yeah.
and I'm around these hoods and motherfuckers get to tripping on me, it don't feel much different when motherfuckers in LA get to tripping on me. They could get your ass the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they coming from the same mentality and the same struggle, you know, and anybody who's like in that, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm with the gang shit, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
I'm not,
honestly,
like
I-
Kendrick,
you know
Kendrick
what-
once said, I ain't no stranger to the funk neither. You understand what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. Is like, I'm glad that you're not talking as like, I'm coming from the gang shit,
Right.
which you're not. Like I don't come from the fucking gang shit. I've seen it. I've been around it
Right.
enough where it's like we can speak on both sides, which is the difference. Like
Right.
a lot of people say like you're either from it or you're not. Like,
Right.
nah,
Well, I'm still
bro.
my
Like,
father's son.
It's like you know
be
when he's talking
affected
about
from
Mini.
it.
And then there's also Centennial. There's Memorial Park.
Yeah.
It's all the same shit. Parks anywhere. Like, what's the difference? I mean, obviously, historically, a place like Looters Park is a little bit more represented in history, like documented. A place like Looters Park, but just because a place like Centennial or Century or Memorial or Heritage or Santa Anita Park or any park in Santa Ana is not historically documented. So off top,
really? I didn't know
mean,
that.
it's not like we don't have a Dr. Dre or a Kendrick
Oh, you
Lamar
mean like
to rap
that.
about shit. Like obviously East Side Long Beach.
We got a Jaytaj.
Thank you. Like not quite the same, but yes, in theory, there's an overlapping art there, right? Where I want to talk about these things and things like Devil's Home and Jimmy with the Gun. Like I'm able to connect with those traumas in a real way. The same way that people like Eazy-E and Pac and Kendrick and every other rapper from their respective neighborhoods can talk about their own stories as they rightfully should. The difference between a place like Santa Ana and different hoods in LA is that we just don't have historical documentation in media and art that tell that story.
So we gotta make it ourselves.
But also, too, a lot of people who have attempted to, including myself, have missed the mark.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your family. You mentioned a few times that it was your grandparents who raised you, and your parents had gone to prison. So I just wanted to ask, what happened when you met them, how that's affected you, and like the creative side of you and everything you put out.
Yeah, when I met my biological parents.
Yeah, your biological.
Well, yeah, obviously, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but when I was a baby, my parents got locked up when I was like somewhere between like 9 months and a year old. I think it's before my conscious memory. Right, so my parents, the only parents I ever known was Herschel and Tina, like I mentioned before. Herschel being my daddy and Tina being my mama. That's my mom, Shauna or Sissy, depending on who you are. People know her as Shauna or Sissy. That's her mom and dad. And then in my album 10-4, I say a line like I'm Lil Jerry that talks a lot. I'm Jerry Jr. So my real father is Jerry, real name Gerard, but his real name is Jerry Tahaji Sr. How they got locked up or why they got locked up, I'm not sure. I know it was like guns and drug charges, I believe. My real mother, my first memory of her, and if my real mother's watching this, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I don't know if this is when I met her or not, but I know that my first memory is through like 6 inches of glass at Chino Prison. I remember, what's crazy is this has to have been the first time I met her, because I remember having a conversation when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I had to have been in kindergarten or so. And there was my neighbor. I was at their house playing and all that. And somebody was like, when the street lights get to coming on and you got to go home.
Yeah.
My neighbor was like, go ask your grandma if you could stay here. And I was like, my grandma? That's my mom. They're like, no, Tina's your grandma. Oh. And I'm like, well, Tina's my mom, and she was like, no, that's your grandmother. Oh. And I was like, you're tripping. Shit. So I went home to ask my mama, can I stay over to, the neighbor's house for a little bit longer after the streetlights came on? And I was like, by the way, they said you're my grandma.
Whoa.
And my mama was like, well, I am your grandma. And fucking my head's exploding, like I am your grandma. And I was like, what? How are you my grandma? She's like, well, my daughter is your mom. Well, who the fuck is your daughter? Obviously, as a 5-year-old, I'm not saying that type of shit. But, as far as I can remember, I remember being just very confused. Like, wait, what? Who's your daughter? So is Tina my sister, which is my sister named Christina. We used to call her Little Tina, which is my mom, which is my grandma's name that I call my mama. Her name is Tina. My sister name is Tina.
Oh, okay.
So she's Little Tina. I'm Little Jerry. I always I never knew why they called me Little Jerry until this moment. Oh, right. Oh. And I'm just little, and my name's Jerry. You know what I'm saying? My mama tells me, yeah, your real mama is my daughter, and she's in prison. Well, what's prison? Well, prison's where you go when you break the law and you get into trouble. Where's my dad? Well, he's in prison too. Well, can I meet my mom? Like, I want to meet this lady.
Oh, you asked her.
Yeah. And then it was like the next flash of memory. I don't know how much time was in between, but I remember flashing to three significant parts of meeting my mom, Sissy. And I actually don't know if she was at Chino or if she was fighting a case here at Maine in Santa Ana. I don't know. I can't remember if it was here in Santa Ana or if we went to Chino. But I do know that I remember her picking up the phone and I'm sitting on my mama's lap. And she, you know, you got to talk through the little phone. And I remember looking across the glass and I just remember her bawling. She's looking at my face and she just starts crying. And I remember like her words is like, I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry. Ooh. And then I'm like confused. I'm just a little boy. Like, and I look up at my mom and I can see my mom's chin in my memory because I'm sitting on her lap. Yeah. And in my memory of this, I can see the bottom of Tina's chin. And she takes the phone from me, and I remember her telling my mother, fucking stop. Stop this. Basically telling her, stop being fucking dramatic. Yeah. This is a little boy. He doesn't know what the fuck you're crying about. He doesn't know what the fuck you got going on. This is a memory that's burned so deep in my head. And she hands the phone back to me, and my mother was just like, I love you. I hope you're getting my letters. I love you so much. And maybe I was getting her letters, but I was too little to even read. I was in kindergarten, bro, you know? And so I don't know what the situation was between her and my mama Tina, her own mother, and I don't know what that was. Yeah. But that was my first memory of her. And then so those are the first two flashes, the flash of her crying, and then it flashes to my mama Tina telling her, shut the fuck up. Talk to this little boy, you know? And then the third memory is me and my mama Tina getting off the bench or the little, like, it was like a little mini bar stool. She was like 7 years old when I was a baby and all of this shit happened. She remembers losing her mama.
She was there.
And she remembers losing her dad and all that. She had a relationship with them. I didn't have the only relationship I had with anybody that I would identify as my mom and dad is Tina and Herschel. And my sister, she got two sets of moms and dads. She got, you know, our biological parents and then my grandparents, you know, and then we have all kinds of foster brothers and sisters because obviously I grew up technically in the foster system because my grandma's not my real mom, so I was a ward of the court. My grandma worked for family court here in Santa Ana, and she helped out a lot of families. So I got foster brothers and sisters like Elton and AJ and everybody that kind of like my family contributed to their, you know. Like, or we just was around, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like everybody's mom and dad kind of raises each other, you know what I'm saying? So you call them your brothers and sisters, but my only full-blooded sibling is my sister, and she remembers my mom and dad. Then I have my little brother who is my half sibling. After my mother got out of prison, she had a new husband and they had a child, and he's about 14 years younger than me. And I, you know, distant relationship, I guess you could say, you know, because just things are weird, you know, in terms of like my relationship with my real parents and all of that. But yeah, that's a story of how that came to be. It was just like, you know, over the years I had tried to form a relationship with them after, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know my island family until I was in high school, and then my island family really stepped up. My father's brother stepped up to get me like football equipment and all of that, and like get me signed up to play sports and try to support me in those ways. And then I got to know my grandmother on my Tahaji side, which is my island side. And then on my mother, when she was in and out of prison, like around 16, I went to live with her for about 6 months. And I, you know, God bless her soul, man. Like, I quickly realized who my mama was, and that was Tina. You know, like my real mother, at least with my experience, and I hope this doesn't offend her. The relationship we had, it didn't feel like mother-son. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's just because that's what time does. But yeah, I never could get over that hump that you're not my mama. You know, like I barely kind of know you. And like my mama Tina, man, she was a mama. You know, and I know that even my mother's generation, like all my real mother's brothers and sisters, their experience of Tina and Herschel is so different from mine. Like they've talked to me about how they were not parents to us like they were parents to you, because they had already been around the block like 10 times by the time I came around. They knew how to do it. You know, I'm the only one, with the exception of a couple of my aunties and uncles, but like, you know, I hope my sister forgives me for this, but like my sister has been through her own struggles, a meth addict, in and out of jail, just like my real parents. And, you know, and it's like my grandparents protected me in a way that would like came in the form of letting me do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. You know, I'm asking about gangbanging and shit like that, and like the motherfuckers in the neighborhood. I'm asking about what's a tweaker. You know, what's speed? What's all this shit? My mama lay it right on me. This is exactly what it is. And then by the time high school came around, it was like, Ma, you know, I want to go to this party. Like, all right, when you get to this party, it's gonna be this, and this is your choice.
Damn.
You know. So I go to the party and I get in my own trouble if I want to get in trouble, or I know that I can hear my mama voice in the back of my head. You know your parents went to prison. You know all of this shit. You make the choice on your own. This is fire. It burns. You stick your hand in there if you want to. And if I did stick my hand in the fire, anytime I stuck my hand in the fire, my mom and dad would teach me how to wrap it up. They would teach me how to clean my wounds, not tell me I was a dumb, fucking, stupid piece of shit for doing the same thing that the rest of their kids already did. This time, they was just like, instead of telling you never touch the fire, how about let me tell this boy what the fire does? And that's what they did for me. You know what I'm saying? And so the relationship with my real mom was hard to adopt because it was very different from my relationship with my parents. By the time, I told you I went to continuation school, bro. By the time I was 15, 16, they treated me like a grown man. I got a job at Fountain Bowl. I started paying rent at 16 years old, started helping my mama. I got my first credit card so my mama could help pay for medication for my dad, Herschel, because he was down bad and he was sick for like 10 years before he died. And I had a little bit of taste of what the fuck it's like to have responsibilities. Went to my mother's, and God bless her soul, I was doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? I was going wherever I went. I remember the day I was with my mother for about 6 months and I jacked a little kid for his bike. You know? Yeah. It's
remember
funny.
the day. You remember
It's
the
funny,
day.
Yeah. And I remember that, like, it was like my parents, there's so much context being left out here, right? But like, I was coming home from the block, and I remember my you know, ironically, I'm sitting here telling you that my grandparents gave me a lot of leniency. The one thing they never let me do was like go to the mall for some reason. I don't know. She was just like, you ain't old enough to go kick it at the mall.
What mall and
like the
why?
block? The block.
Oh,
you know,
really?
You remember the block,
Yeah.
bro.
There was
The
a
block
lot of gangs and stuff
It was
back
jumping
then.
off over
Yeah.
there, bro, and it was like guaranteed. Bitch, you ain't got no money. You ain't finna shop. You ain't finna go see no movie. You gonna go get in trouble.
That's true.
And you gonna go beef with some other group of little motherfuckers just like you. And then next thing you know, I'm coming to pick you up from Orange PD or whatever. You know, and so my mama Tina would never really let me go. And I remember I was like, Mom, can I go to the block with my cousin Frankie? And she was like, no. I was like, man, that's bullshit. And my mother had just got out of prison and had given birth to my little brother. And she was like, well, if you don't like it, you could go live with your mom.
Oh, wow.
Sign me up. I'm out
Really?
this bitch. Yeah.
Really?
I thought I
You
was that
went?
dude. Yeah, sign me up.
So what happened?
So then I went to go live with my mother, and that was where I discovered over the course of like 6 months, damn, I need my mama. You know, like this is fucked up. And, you know, and my mother did her best, you know, but she was also raising an infant. My sister was twacked the fuck out. And it was me, and it was the four of us living in one bedroom that she was renting from a guy in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. You know, off of Haster and fucking Chapman. In the cut, bro. In the cut. And I was going to Orange High School because I had left Los Amigos and went to Orange High School for like a few months and was just getting into all kinds of fucking trouble. And I didn't know why this was happening. Like I went from being an okay, like pretty, like, I don't want to say a square, but a square, you know, like, like I'm still from the hood, you know, but I was like, it's not like, I wasn't disrespectful to people. I wasn't jacking nobody. I was just like a motherfucker from Heritage Park. And anybody on the West Side knows what I mean by that, right? And so then I'll go live with my mother, and that all started to morph. I'm also 16 at this time. So it's like, now I'm like, I'm trying to be every character in Boys in the Hood. And I'm trying to like, I'm telling motherfuckers at Orange that I'm a blood and all this shit. And like,
Orange.
Yeah, like I was trying to like adopt a whole new identity. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that was when I went from Jerry to Jay because nobody knew me as that. So when I got to that school, I'm like, oh, I'm Jay. I'm Jaytaj. You know, I'm Jaytaj. I'm a blood. And I wasn't no fucking blood, you know? But, you know, because of my family and all that shit, I thought I had the cards to say some dumb shit like that. And I started getting in trouble. Motherfuckers started talking about jumping me and all this shit. We're getting in fights and all that shit. Got to the block. Started getting in fights with motherfuckers over there. One night, I'm coming home from the block. You know, they used to kick out the teenagers at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's like my mother tried to lay some ground rules. Like, you got to be back at the crib by 10 p.m. Well, I'm 16 years old. What the fuck am I doing now until 10 p.m., bro? You know, this is in retrospect. At the time,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm out here, right?
As a kid, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm leaving the block, and we used to have to cut through this neighborhood. If I lived on Chapman and Haster, so behind the block on is it Lewis?
Yeah.
Lewis and Lamson.
Honestly, I gotta compliment you on one thing. You know your geography.
You know your fucking
hella
streets,
well.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Because Bill asked me where I'm from. I'm like, just say San. And they're like, what part? I'm like, I fucking.
Damn, that's
know.
crazy. I can tell you, I'm from 4900 block, Westside Acapulco. You feel me?
See, that's fucking wild, bro.
You know, I'm from
That's-
Sandalwood Mobile Home Park. You feel me? That was on the
No,
west
that's
side. Anyway,
fucking wild, bro.
anyway, but anyways, yeah, whatever. I'm digressing. But the point that I'm trying to make is thank you. Yes, I do know my streets.
It's
But
from them.
yeah, that part. And I spent a lot of time there, right? So when you leave the block, you gotta if you live in that neighborhood on Haster and Chapman, which is behind the 7-Eleven right there, you cut through the neighborhood that comes out on Lewis. I think it's Lewis, either Lewis or Lamson. I think Lamson runs east and west, and Lewis runs north and south. And so you cut through that neighborhood on Lewis. Right on Lewis, there's a house, and there was a little boy right there. He had his little bike and shit, and it was late as fuck, bro. It was almost 10 p.m. And he's like outside on his little patio playing and shit. And I see his bike right there, and I go and I fucking grab his bike, and he's like, "Hey, that's my bike." Fucking just start dipping off. And because my real mother had been be home by 10 p.m., it's like 9:59. So I'm like, the things I had learned with my mama Tina was like, bitch, she say be home at a certain time,
Gotta be at home.
or you finna get your ass whooped. And so then I'm like in my head, oh shit, I gotta be home by 10. 9:59. I jack this little boy for his bike, and I go riding through Lewis. It's not like I strong armed the kid, you know. I was just I just jacked him, and he saw me jack him, you know. And I was like, I got all the way back to the house. Got off the bike, threw that shit in the bushes. I didn't want that bum ass bike, you know, right? I just threw that shit in the bushes.
Yeah, of course.
Went inside, laid down, and it all just set in. Like, why did I just do that? You know, like a very terrible decision. And I'm thinking about that little boy, and I remember back when I was probably around his age, my bike got jacked. And this is so trivial looking back, right? But at that time as a little boy, I was hurt, man. I felt ashamed to my mom and dad, Tina and Herschel. Like, why did I leave my bike out there? Why did I allow it to get jacked? And then I was just sad as fuck I didn't have my bike. And when I got back to my mother's crib, like not far away, like half a mile away, an easy walk, I throw the fucking bike in the bushes, and I never look at it again. Yeah. So I jacked this little boy for what, bro? And immediately it sparked. This is the beginning of the side of life I don't want to go down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got to go home.
Mm-hmm.
And that next morning I called my mama Tina, and I was like, Mom, I want to come home.
Wow.
And she was like, I'm coming to get you. And I remember her and my daddy pulled up in a Buick, and I remember sharing tears with my real mother, and just like, you know, knowing that in my head, I didn't have the words to articulate that it's not your fault. You know, you didn't know how to be a 16-year-old's mother, a 16-year-old in the hood that already was exposed to terrible decision-making all my whole life, and now I have the opportunity to do that shit, and that shit's cool as fuck. Bitch, I'm listening to the Booyah Tribe, I'm listening to Dr. Dre and Eazy-E, and I'm like, I'm a motherfucking gangster. That's what I told myself in my head, right? And now I have an opportunity to exercise that opportunity, and I did. And that was just one story. There's so many other stories, like fights and almost getting jumped by these Usos at the block because I ran my mouth in the wrong way, and I started to get a taste of what the fuck this could really be like if I start being a dumbass. You know, not to say that anybody else that goes down that road is a dumbass, but in my world, according to my spectrum, that's a goofy ass move.
Yeah.
And so I knew that in that moment. And I called my mama Tina. Mama, I'm sorry. I got to come home, you know. And my mama brought me home. But you know what's crazy is after everything that I experienced in those 6 months, my mama never treated me like a boy ever again. She treated me like a man after that. And I think that also her observation of my ability to have the discernment to make that decision to come home and be in a safe place, she was like, you going to come home, then you going to get a fucking job. You going to go to independent studies. You going to work at the bowling alley. You going to be a man now. And from that moment on, I was never a boy again to my mother. And to this day, she talks to me like a grown man. You know what I'm saying? And I you know, I'm blessed enough to pay my mama bills and all of that shit and take care of mama. She went home after my daddy died. She went home to Joplin, Missouri, where she's from Kansas City, but Joplin's not from there. She live over there. As you know, when I say I pay my mama rent, it's like $200, you know, for her apartment and shit that. And like now when we talk, she don't treat me like no boy, which I know is a rare thing, bro. I got some homeboys in their 30s that like when they talk to their parents, they're like, I don't know how to tell my mom. You know, it's like, because their mom still treats them like a child. No?
I feel that.
No, let's give a shout out to Mama Tina.
Yeah, for real, man. Saved my life. And my daddy Herschel, man. My daddy wasn't the most articulate. My mother did a lot of the talking and a lot of the discipline. My daddy never laid a hand on me, man, and never yelled at me. He would give me some talks for what it's worth, you know, but he's a black man born in McNeil, Arkansas in 1938 and dropped out of school in the 3rd, 4th grade. And all he ever knew was how to work hard and how to love my mama.
Did you have to fill a role that he filled when he passed?
Just to love my mama. You know what's crazy, bro, is that I ain't never talked about this shit. It's crazy.
No.
Excuse me.
No.
When my dad passed away, he was like senile, I guess you could say, you know, and he had started to lose his mind, you know, but started to lose his ability to hold a conversation, and he would just start talking crazy. He would think I was his little brother or something like that, and it went on that way for a couple of years, maybe a year to 2 years, and there's 2 parts to this that is crazy. The first part I'll tell you is what has to do with like the role that I filled was that up until my final conversation with my dad, which was the last conversation that anybody had with him, he was senile, couldn't really hold a conversation with nobody. And then there was this random conversation that me and my ex-girlfriend, Christina, we went to the hospital, to Fountain Valley Hospital, to see him in the West Wing on the 4th floor in room 412. And I kicked it there for a little bit. And after about 15 minutes, my dad reappeared. And he was perfectly sound. He was could hold a perfect conversation. Bro, there was so much we talked about that I could break down into, but I'll focus on this one thing. 2 things. The first thing was my dad married a white woman in a time when it wasn't good for black people and white people to be married. Raised children that weren't his, including myself. He didn't have to be my dad. He could have just been my granddad and let me go off into whatever the foster system would have offered me, you know, but he chose to be my daddy and my mama chose to be my mama. So I asked him all these questions about why did you choose to give back? My dad has awards from the city of Santa Ana, from the city of Irvine, city of Fountain Valley for giving back to the homeless community, and everybody in downtown Santa Ana knows my daddy. Yeah. Like there's no judge or cop or homeless activist, you know, in downtown Santa Ana over the last 40 years that doesn't know Herschel Hardiman, you know, and they all know him because of what he chose to do with his time and his energy. And we have a lot of money, but he gave what he had to the people that needed it more than he did. And CBS did a documentary about this man, right? I asked my daddy, there's 2 points that I'm gonna make. I asked my daddy, why? Why did you do this shit? And he just took a deep breath. I don't know, son. Love. Just love. And that's just where this whole shit, everybody knows me as like love, just love. That's Jaytaj's whole shit. That's some of my daddy's final words to me. The second thing was, what do I do, Dad? What do I do when you go? And the only thing he said was love my wife. Love your mama. You know what I'm saying? Like give her the only thing I ever, like he's not saying it in these words, but in retrospect, I understand my dad's lack of articulation to be give her the only thing I knew how to give her because I was a fucking shoe shine, man. You understand? I couldn't give her money. I couldn't give her a glamorous lifestyle, but I could give her love. I could love her children that weren't mine. You understand what I'm saying? And I could be their daddy. And I could be your daddy because she asked me to. That's love. And so now the role that you said, was there a role that I had to fill when my daddy died, is that. Love my mama. And if anybody else chooses to go on with their life the way we all have. My parents raised us that, bro, when you on, get the fuck on. You know, I don't have the type of family that's like has these obligations to their families. Me and my family are very distant in comparison to most families, especially Polynesian black families and probably Vietnamese or Asian and Latin families. Bro, I'm on my own, dog. I've been on Spring Street for my own for 7 years. And before that, I was in downtown Santa Ana doing my thing, kind of hopping around by myself, man. Like my family has always been a distant concept that I love from a long ways away. And if we're close, I'm going to love you from up close. But even though my mom is halfway across the fucking country and been there since the year after my daddy died, which is now, my daddy died in 2011. My mama moved in 2012. We in 2023 now, and I ain't lived with my mama 11 years. And I still love her with all my heart. So if there's any role I got to fill from my dad, it's that role, to love my mama. You know what I'm saying? And treat her with the honor and the respect that he treated her with, even though he got his own faults and shit, and they got their own crazy ass stories of shit that went crazy. I mean, he had a baby during a break between the two of them, you know what I'm saying? Who's my Uncle Herschel, Uncle Herschel Jr., you know what I'm saying? And my family is so distant and unorthodox, and I got aunties that are my aunties because they're my dad's daughter, but not my mom's daughter, and you know, and uncles that are my mom's son, but not my dad's son, and all this crazy shit. And all of that is a testament to just love through all of these orthodox ideas of what love is. Love. When my daddy died, we did his funeral at Greater Light Missionary Baptist Church on 2nd and Forest right here in Santa Ana. It's an old black church, Pastor Van Dolan Robertson. The church I grew up in where I learned to play music. That church probably sits about 200 people. Man, about 400 people came out to my daddy's funeral over his fucking 40, 50 years in Santa Ana and just the relationships he had made. And it was just a testament to like, man, this man impacted so many lives and he changed so many people's perception of what is, that they came out and they maybe ain't seen this man in 30 years, but they gonna come out and show love at his funeral. And I hope that one of the roles I could fill is to be like Herschel, you know, be more like Herschel and a
little bit more like Herschel.
Yeah, every day, baby, every day. And it sucks because there is a part of me that gets frustrated every year that goes by. Like my dad's not here, you know, and
Hey, bro,
like,
to be honest, your dad is here.
no,
Right
that's
here,
real.
bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, because I've never met Herschel, but seeing you talk, I can see Herschel.
A lot of people say that, and I appreciate that with all my heart, man. Like, if there's any way that I can, if I'm able to articulate and communicate the man that he was to the degree that you feel like you knew him, then I'm doing my part.
You can and you are. And I think it's honorable to try and replicate the way that he moved through the world and try and do it for yourself, because I think we all do that a lot with a lot of our fathers or our father figures.
Oh, for sure.
Like I see it with my father, and like I know there's a role I have to fill when he's gone, and I think about it, you know, and having these conversations with you, with Rock and stuff, people who've like lost their dads. It's so like soul breaking, you know? And I think about it like, because I know it's coming. Now I know it's going to be there one day. So I want to say thank you, because like hearing you talk about it and like how much it impacted you, and you being able to like, I don't think you ever get over it, but
Never.
you take from it, you know, and it makes you better in the end, in a sense where like you want to honor that memory, how he moved through the world, and like want to do that for yourself. And I know I'll do the same, you know, so it does give me some kind of like comfort knowing that, yeah, I am going to lose my father one day, but I hope that like when he's gone, like I can, you know, do the same and like honor him.
You know, you hit it right on the head when it's like, no, you never get over it. The pain doesn't actually diminish. The pain becomes something you learn to live with. And this is much like almost every pain we experience in our lives. Like, loss is a universal language. Losing a job sometimes hurts the same as losing someone you love, right? Like losing anything. Bro, I've lost valuable materialistic things and it hurts, right? Loss is a universal language, and what you choose to do with the pain that comes from that loss is your choice. The pain doesn't always diminish. You just learn how to live with it. You learn how to cope with it. And my choice when it comes to my daddy is that every day I miss him. And bro, imagine all the magnificent things that have happened in my life. I mean, I've made more money than my daddy could ever dream of making, and I wish I could share it with him. I wish that I could bring him to my loft in downtown LA and be like, look at this shit, Dad. Look at this shit, man. When my daddy died, I was on the fucking couch of his house, you know, getting up to take care of him. And much like in Rocky's conversation with you guys, I remember vividly turning my daddy over to wipe his ass because he couldn't make his way to the toilet. You know what I'm saying? And like, I wish my daddy could see that this is not where it ended, especially, you know, and I hope my siblings and my aunties and my uncles forgive me for this, but especially when he's had a repetition of children who have ended up in prison or ended up fucking twacked the fuck out or left and never came back. Left Santa Ana and never came home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope somewhere in whatever endless universe we enter after this, he could look back and be like, damn, this motherfucker did that shit.
So you're a very multifaceted artist. You know, you're a musician, director, producer, just overall around creative.
Thank you.
What have you been doing, you know, these last few years, since it's been a while since you released a single? I know you've been busy. I know you've been busy in the space. So like, tell us what you've been up to.
Oh man, you just had to like punch me in the gut. It's been a long time since you did shit, you know. But it hasn't at all. It has not been a long time since I created art. I was in the studio last night, right? over the last few years, my last single was Broke No More, which was 2018 or 2019. And that's sad. I don't know what actual year
19.
that was. 19? Yeah, so 2019, which is what, 4 years ago now?
Damn.
Since then, man, I have done a very wide array of things that are all in the same space, which is being behind the camera, right? Like I got an opportunity to start creating content for a company called All Def, which was like I guess you could call it a child company, the Def Jam. Russell Simmons started it back in the day.
Oh, tight.
And it was like the home of people like Kev on Stage and Teddy Ray and Doughboy and them. And so they started a music department back in like around that time. It was actually before Broke No More that I started working there, around 2007. I was still here in this building when I started working for All Def. Started creating content for them, and then I unlocked a whole like, oh shit, like there's a lot of money behind the camera. You know, so I always like, as an artist, I guess you could say for a while I maybe inherently identified as a musician or a rapper or whatever, but I always wanted to just do whatever the fuck. Whatever, whether it's put my hand on a paintbrush or a spray can, or maybe behind the camera, pick up a camera, take photos, or make rap
On the
music.
mic, yeah.
Just creative expression.
Yeah, exactly. Any medium where I was given the privilege to create art or say something or create an image or a message, I would take that opportunity to try to do that, even experiential, like throwing events and stuff.
Yeah.
So since Broke No More and during Broke No More, I had discovered two things. Like I had an inherent talent behind the camera, and then I also discovered the money that came behind the camera. And I was like, holy shit, I could rap all day long and never make the type of money I make for half the effort behind the camera.
Yep,
you know,
100%.
and especially when you like are just a personable person who can make relationships in the media or film industry. You just make the right relationships and you can start making money. So after All Def, I was freelance for a little bit. I got called up. Speaking of like different creative outlets, I would create pitch decks for directors. I would make like around that time I had moved from Santa Ana to downtown LA, and I met fucking Isaiah Rashad and Absol's manager in the elevator of my building, and now he's one of my Matt Miller, man. Like shout out to him. He has actually been a big part of the trajectory of my life on shit that y'all wouldn't even be able to wrap your mind around in terms of like just looking at me. You would never know that I was part of these wild ass coincidences, you know what I'm saying?
That's what we
like,
love, though.
Yeah.
You can't judge a book by its
Yeah,
cover.
I'll break down into like that wild ass shit, but like the point is I went to a market or a place where opportunities were right at your fingertips, and that sounds so cliche and corny as fuck, but really like I love Santa Ana with all my heart. It's my home, man. And then there's a beautiful art community here and a beautiful music community here, but we all know there's nobody that makes noise in Santa Ana that doesn't know that it's like, damn, we can do so much, and it's just really the same people. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're just kind of like creating art, and it's a beautiful community in contrast to the rest of Orange County in terms of art. People come from all over OC to make art here. You know what I'm saying? To make art here, perform art here, express art here, whatever. So when I left Santa Ana, ended up in LA, all those opportunities started rolling. I got the opportunity to start creating pitch decks for a director that I had met out there. And I was like, I wasn't creating their deck. They would create the content that went in the decks and the treatments. I would just get on Keynote and design it, you know, and make it look pretty.
Curated.
Find the right reference images. If they were talking about a wide shot exterior, subject is entering a liquor store, I knew the right image from the right movie that could represent that idea that they were pitching to the label or to the commissioner.
Yeah.
So I got really good at making decks, and I made hundreds of decks. And I had them on my website. That was like my portfolio or my LinkedIn or whatever. And this random company hit me up. They were based out of Santa Monica. They were called Olay Creative. And it was this cat, Vertel Scott. Shout out to Vertel. He changed my life. They hollered at me and they was like, yo, we're looking for somebody that can help us design decks. Can you come in? It was like Vertel at olaycreative.com. Looked up Olay Creative, 404, no page found. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
Doesn't he have a website?
Yeah, I was like, this is some lame, this is what the fuck? Like, y'all, like, this is another one of those things that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, man, yeah, respond to email. Yo, bro, I'd love to come in and chop with you. At this point, bro, I am broke as fuck. I mean, no exaggeration, I'm overdrafted. Shout out to Overdraft Creative Studios, which is my company. That reality of like being overdrafted in my bank account was so real. And I was overdrafted, and my shorty had a few dollars at the time, and I'm living in downtown, like scraping pennies to try and make my dreams come true. And this cat from Olay Creative hollers at me. I don't know how the fuck or where the fuck he found my shit. I guess it was just on what was that shit? Workingnotworking.com. It was like, it's like the
yeah.
creative LinkedIn. And he found my shit. He found my decks. He's like, yo, we want you to come in and design decks for us. I'm like, yo, I went to your website.
Nothing.
Who are you? You know, and I thought it was just some bullshit like Fiverr bullshit, you know? And he was like, oh shit, yeah, my bad. Actually, Olay is just a department within a company called Game 7. And Game 7 was a big agency that did work for Nike and Spotify, Amazon, NFL. And I was like, oh, so he sent me game7.com. And then in there's a tab for Olay Creative. So Game 7 was an experiential agency. Olay was like a digital production services within the agency.
Yeah.
So he was trying to get me to come make decks for the digital services agency. Long story short, I went in there, started making decks, and we were working on a Nike project where it involved foster kids.
This
Yeah, bro. And I was talking about it with them, and I'm making the deck. I'm in the meeting with the Nike representatives and the agency, and I'm listening to them talk about, oh, this is a great story. It involved Clint Capella because he's a former foster child. And they were gonna go to Houston and meet all these foster kids. Excuse me. And meet all these foster kids that were aged out of the program and what does it mean to be a foster kid. It was all to promote the LeBron James Air Force One more than. You know, I don't know if you remember LeBron's whole shit, like more than an athlete.
Yep.
So it was like, we're more than foster kids. We're this, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the campaign.
I remember that vividly. That's where it came from. That's
So
interesting.
LeBron had his thing, but he had an Air Force One that Foot Locker and Nike were promoting this Air Force One specifically. I'm making the deck. I'm in this meeting. I'm listening to them talk about it. And as a kid who grew up, you know, obviously in a unique upbringing and not being unfamiliar with the foster system and being a ward of the court, I'm like, kind of like stepped out of my lane after the meeting was over. And I talked to Tomas Whitmore, who is an incredible director, and he was the creative director at that agency. I was like, yo, Tomas, like, I know this isn't really my place, but like, how do you guys plan on interacting with these foster kids? And this is also, mind you, I've worked at Boys and Girls Club at this point for like 8 years, you know, and it had a long experience working with young people, especially having my own experience of being in and out of the foster system. And I asked him, he was like, oh, I mean, we'll probably just send the director there like the day of. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think you should do it like that. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I mean, I'm not unfamiliar with foster system. Like, I grew up in and out of these environments. And, you know, people come all the time with cameras and stick cameras in these kids' faces and then dip out. If you're going to show up with Nike, you got to show up with Nike, you know, and like be with the shits and go really get to know these kids if you want a good story. He's like, okay, well, how would you do it? And I'm like, well, I would probably send the director a day or two beforehand, go meet with these kids and chop with these kids and share your story. And like, why are you creating this art? And why are we leveraging your story to sell a shoe? You know what I'm saying? What does it really mean? And then I would also lace them the fuck up. Like, what the fuck? Give them more Nike than they could dream of.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was like, man, that's a good idea. Cool, thank you. Went back to my desk, started creating decks again, and I was working on what they told me to do. Vertel, the guy who originally reached out to me, comes over. He's like, yo, Jay, leans on my desk. What are you doing next week? And I'm like, I don't know, whatever. I'm designing decks. He's like, no, you're going to Houston. You're going to direct this.
Nice.
And they teamed me up with thank you.
Wow.
Now I did not expect a fucking round of applause. But they teamed me up with Pascal Gutierrez, super, super talented director and honestly one of my best friends in the world. Somebody I'm so inspired by. I met him through this campaign. He's a Chicano from LA. And he, you know, he's directed all types of Bad Bunny music videos and he's from a director collective called Clica, which is two Latino directors. And so basically the producer of the project knew Pascual, reached out to him. I wasn't experienced enough to fully lead. So I took on the role of creative director while he worried about the more practical things like the framing and the pacing of the story. And I just kind of like consulted on how we tell the story of foster children, how we interact with aged out foster kids, how we connect with someone like Clint Capella. And they kind of used me as a vessel to be like, yo, we're not just, even though in theory we are a brand that's leveraging a very sensitive topic to sell a product, there's also like connectivity here. People on our team believe in this, you know, and I'm AKA me. So I got to fly out to Houston, worked on that project, led that project as a creative, came home. There was 2 more videos in that same project. So it was a 3-video part where we talked to people from all over different countries with different stories. I mean, all over the country with different stories. The next one was in Toronto, and then the following one was in LA, and they let me lead the 2 of those. That moment changed my life. You know, like,
sorry, my bad. I want to like interrupt you because
handle
that
it.
story is fucking great. And the reason why, I want to speak on it is because, like, now that I hear your story and see what kind of person you are, what I've noticed is that, like, beyond your ability to kind of figure out where South Side, East Side, North Side, and West Side is, right? Your direction to everything is because I've noticed that you've been able to connect the dots in your life. And that's maybe because, at least to me, again, this is just my opinion, it seems like you're always trying to find a place to fit in. So because it was hard for you to find a place to fit in, you always found a direction to navigate towards. Because the way I hear you talk about it is not really just north, west, east, south. It's literally just life, man. Like as a storyteller, as a director, as a producer, like you tried to fill in these things because like in your story, like, it wasn't filled in, and now you're trying to understand it. And then, maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but to me, like, I see you doing that very well because you are the guy to connect the dots.
Thank you, man.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe it goes back to your dad when you're saying like, I want to be the guy where he leaves, I want him to stay.
Yeah.
He misses me. And when you leave your mark like that, you're here to stay, So, I mean, to me, hearing everything is a little bit arbitrary, right? Because maybe some people can't understand that. But as a whole in your story and what you're saying, like, it just sounds like someone who is lost and who's finding their way.
The realest shit.
Yeah.
The realest shit. I think that a lot of times the dots are connected in retrospect.
Yeah.
Like, right, it takes a moment to take a deep breath and be like, how in the fuck did I get here? And then I can draw the line. And there's like, oh, bro, the list of people and moments to thank it's endless.
Yeah.
It's like I met this guy and he believed in me. And I met this guy and he actually said some wild ass shit, which drove me to be like, man, fuck this dude or this shorty. And I went this way. And the line is so complex and it goes all over the place. But it always comes back to like this singular question, which is like, who the fuck am I?
Yes.
Who am I? Because there was from this far back as my memory goes, when I'm being challenged about who my mom and dad really are, and like, who the fuck am I? This is the first question I remember, which is not a unique question to me. I think all of humanity asks that question, like, who are we? Why the fuck are we here? And where the fuck are we going?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that question is not unique to me, but I have found by accident a way to draw a line to answer those questions.
And you're very skilled at it.
Thank you. And the more time goes on, the less I ask that question. I know exactly who I am, but not to a place that is so zealous that I'm not willing to be something else. I'm always willing to become something new. If I'm given the opportunity and it feels right, I just follow the moment and I live here and now, because tomorrow, as cliche as it sounds, like, bro, you know exactly what I'm about to say.
It's not
right.
promised.
Like, I've lost too many motherfuckers and we've seen too many incredible people go away in the flash of a second.
100%.
And all that's left is the now, whatever their now was at that moment that they said goodbye to this realm. And so knowing that at any given moment, like, I could just take my last breath and that's it. How do I identify with what the fuck is happening right now? And all of that is usually a culmination of as far back as I can remember. And it's almost like a snowball effect, right? Like, I am everything from the beginning of my time till now.
Yeah.
I'm all of that things. Even the things I wish I could abandon, they actually contribute to who I am right now. So that line is always drawn.
It's full circle.
That
Yeah,
whole
100%.
experience you had, with growing up in knowing the foster stuff, like, allowed you to get to this point where it's like, you were the right guy for that time. That opportunity right there presented yourself, and everything that's happened to you beforehand let you take advantage of that opportunity and get to where you are today.
Shit. It's and I have a strained relationship with like religion and God and the idea and the concept of God. Like,
too, man.
Like, I have a very I've gone through all the waves of being like full Bible thumper evangelist to like anti-Christian
Christian
like,
rapper.
That is wild. Yo, that's wild. Yeah, that is crazy. I was definitely a Christian rapper for like a year or two. That is crazy.
You want to give us a line real quick?
Oh my God! Let me try to think of a line.
Give us the most preachiest line.
Oh my God! All I'm saying is look up a Soft Productions, like volume 1 or 2. It's probably somewhere on Spotify.
A Soft Productions.
ASAF, like ASAF, like
ASAP,
ASAP, but with an F. It's an engineer / producer in Santa Ana at OC Recordings off of off of Warner and Fairview. And he was like the first engineer I ever worked with as a kid. And this cat had these compilation albums of like beats he would make, and me and my homeboy Pierre, oh damn, we were from a crew called Colorblind Society.
Ooh, that's
there was just this deep end I went in, which is actually attached to a way more traumatic situation where I like latched on to Christianity as a defense mechanism because I was made out to be a snitch in a situation that I didn't snitch, and these motherfuckers was really trying to kill me, dog. You know, like, and they was really trying to get their vengeance because their cousin went to jail over some shit that I was like played out to be a snitch in a situation, which later, for the record, later on paper, it was proven like, oh no, man, we're sorry. And that family and I were cool and it's love. But like my high school situation was tampered and stained by this experience, which drove me to latch on to like, yo, Jesus, because I believed that if I latched on to like this Christian rapper thing, these gangster motherfuckers wouldn't get at me. They're like, oh no, he's a church boy. So that was like why I
protected by the word of God.
Real talk. Like, I mean, how often do you hear that? Like, nobody be shooting up the church. You know, and so like I was genuinely scared because I was put in this position where I was made out to be something I wasn't for whatever variables that can contribute to that, right? We were kids. But that wasn't the case. You know, I don't want to dive too deep into that shit, but it was not real, and I thought, the only way to protect myself is if I walk around with a Bible and I rap about Jesus. And
but again, that's you know, all you navigate through life,
right? And that experience of being so devoted to that shit, like, ended up contributing to who I am now, and my understanding of why people latch on to these things and why people devote themselves to these ideas that someone just convinced you of. Like, there's actually no proof in that shit. Just like astrology, and motherfuckers get at me, but like, oh, you're a Pisces. Sounds a lot like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it sounds a lot like evangelical.
Y'all sound like toxic Scorpios.
Yeah. My point that I mean is like all of that shit has contributed to who I am, you know what I'm saying? And who I am is a flawed human who is trying to get through every breath the best that he can. And sometimes I get through each breath on some shitty shit. You know, sometimes I make terrible decisions, right? But like you said, all of that draws a line. And whatever decisions I make now, hopefully tomorrow or in 10 years from now, I'll be able to draw a line. Like, man, that decision contributed to wherever I ended up. And even if I end up in a shitty place, I need to practice that same thing. Always. Draw the line on how the fuck I got here. How did I get here?
When you talk about flawed human beings, that's all we are.
Message.
You're the most flawed human being I know.
Damn, you need to look in the mirror real quick, yeah?
Wait, hold on. I totally derailed.
No, but that was you derailed not, like, bro, that was like the preachiest, non-preachy shit ever. And that was
crazy.
Fucking tight. Be honest, because like that's what made you you. And the reason why you preach like that is probably because you went through that. And
because he was a Christian rapper.
That's not what you identify as. I mean, that too,
man. Jaytaj
preaching those bars. You'll see him in a fucking, like, those priests.
No, I never didn't dress like
Bible. He's like downing the holy water and shit.
No, but I do have some sus ass pictures of like just like shit where I like, it was like I told you, there was an era where I first discovered Photoshop.
How many of you photoshopped a chain on you? But
No,
it was
I would
a Jesus
Photoshop
cross.
like a cross.
Yes, the cross.
Right here,
yes.
like soldier of Christ.
Are you serious?
Like, I'm talking like,
Soldier of Christ.
bro, I'm talking like full fucking victory outreach, like
on his MySpace. Like,
yes, bro. Like I'm talking like you know, like
Photoshop done you
dirty,
dirty.
like holy hoodlums type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Holy
Like where I was
hoodlums.
trying to still be a gangster and I was trying to still be like street, but also like, you know, in the name of Jesus, you know, like,
forgive me, please.
and you had you had that Usu voice, so you're like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. I never really pulled that off like on the records, but I did look up to like these like Samoan Christian rappers and shit, like, and it was a strange 1 year, and I was also in the crump scene at that time. So I was crumping hard, right?
With the cross.
Yeah,
like,
but you know, y'all know crump is like a Christian, it's a
Yeah.
faith-based art form, right? So I was like, of course, now I'm being surrounded by like evangelists like Tie Dyes and Miho and Dragon.
Shouts to Ties.
Yeah, respect to Chess, but anyways, but to answer your question in terms of what am I doing? So
Yeah,
all of
back
that
to the
shit
music.
happened. That shit led to like the shit that happened with the Nike situation at Olay led to like this like, oh shit. Two things. I realized what I was capable of as a creative, and then everyone else realized what I was capable of as a creative, and then
Perspective.
money just started flowing. I started doing shit for a countless amount of brands, and I was like, damn, fuck rapping. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, and then after 10-4, it was like, yo, I'm actually struggling to make anything that feels as good as that album felt. And it felt good. So that album tells a fucking crazy story about a relationship that defined who I am as a lover for the rest of my life. And how could I ever tell a story that matches that? Now when I get in the studio and rap, I find myself just talking shit on other rappers. That shit's fucking lame, bro.
Yeah,
It's the like, oh, I'm the best there ever was. You motherfucker, like you're this, I'm this. Those are basic ass bars that every rapper raps. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be that guy. Or I find myself going in there and making a record that sounds like a Vince Staple record, sounds like an Isaiah Rashad record, sounds like a Kendrick record, sounds like
everyone
all
but
my
yourself,
favorite
right?
rappers.
Yeah.
Then I find myself making their records that's also whack as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And so videos and getting behind the camera opened up a whole new world where I'm like, damn, I get my fix through this. And I get paid way more than I get paid off my streams. And I'm not hurting in the stream world. Like my streams still pay a portion of my bills.
Yeah.
So I just like started focusing behind the camera. Then I got these gigs in different places, and then I ended up where I'm at now. And I'm still behind the camera. But I've never not made music. I've got writing credits on other artists' shit. I've done sync. Like making records specifically for campaigns, ad campaigns, or producing beats for Nike commercials, or producing beats for Red Bull shit and things like that. Like I found a way to still make money off of music. It's just been a little bit unorthodox, at least in the way that's given to us. Like we're told that the only way to make music is to be the forward-facing brand or rapper or singer or whatever. But that's bullshit, bro. Like, and look at me, bro. I'm a fucking Mexican-looking guy who's half Pacific Islander who talks like a black dude from Santa Ana. Like, who the fuck is gonna buy my story? You know what I'm saying? I gotta go through hoops. Like, I gotta go through hoops to convince people that what I'm talking about is worth listening to, because I don't present in a way that's understandable off top. You know what I'm saying? So being behind the camera has allowed me the liberty to explore different stories and explore different art. And sometimes it is an ego strike where I've sometimes made videos for artists that I feel like I'm 10 times the artist that they are, and I just have to eat that because I'm making a different type of art at that moment.
True.
But there's a narrative in Orange County, and in some ways it's meaningless. But there's a narrative that like, oh, Jaytaj doesn't make music anymore. Like, bitch, how the fuck you think I pay my bills? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I do enough music that I'm not tripping off of it. You know what I'm saying? But it does hurt sometimes when you go from being like, oh man, yeah, like you're my favorite rapper in Santa Ana, whatever, to like, damn, do you even rap anymore? You know, and it's like, that's yes. The answer is yes. Every fucking day. You know, I'm in the studio and I got hard drives to prove it.
Anyone who's wondering, yes.
Yeah, man. And there was this list that came out, top 50 rappers of Orange County, like of all time, and I wasn't on the list. And that shit's crazy because I'm definitely in the top 5 most streamed artists to ever come out of Orange County, minus like Gwen Stefani and the Common Kings, you know. But like when it comes to rappers and shit, like it hurt a little bit. It was definitely like a kick in the chest that like, damn, I put in a lot of work over the course of the last 10 years to make a piece of art that to this day still does millions of streams repeatedly.
Yeah.
Oh, like I'm hitting millions of streams every month or two off of a couple records that I made 5-7 years ago. And like, you count me out because I'm not doing a show at Diego's every Saturday. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that shit hurt. It hurt a little bit. I'm like, damn, what the fuck? And my man who made that list hollered at me later and was like, damn, bro, I'm so sorry. Like, I totally forgot. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm
forgot my name.
I'm saying. Yeah. You know, and I got mad respect for them and them peoples that do that shit and the shit they talk about and all that. Like, everybody's on their own trajectory. And I'm not over here like, oh my God, you didn't know, you didn't remember me. On internally, like the shit that I internally went through was like, damn, really? Like, that shit. Them? Like, I respect everybody that's on this list, but how the fuck did you just kick me out of this list when there's people on this list that rap because of me? You know what I'm saying? And I mean that with love and respect and so. But this is like messages that these rappers have told me, like, damn, yeah, when I was at Centennial, when I was at Century High School, you know, I heard you on MySpace, bro, and it was like, damn, this fool's from Santa Ana, I'm gonna fucking rap too. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So you got them on the list. And I like, it's so hard to talk about this shit without sounding like an arrogant fucking piece of shit.
Hey, sometimes
right? Like,
arrogance is needed.
No,
bro,
it's not. It's not ever needed. But like sometimes it's just I don't
know, dude. Because like to be honest, like I'm gonna say some shit like
confidence. Maybe needed,
confidence, maybe arrogance, maybe too. Because confidence reaches a certain group of people, and arrogance reaches a certain group of people.
Yeah, but how does it reach them? How does it reach them, Peter? Like, confidence can reach people that inspires them. Arrogance reaches people in a way that makes them look at you and invalidates what you're saying.
I think maybe they.
I don't want nobody to see me as an arrogant artist or anything like that. I would like for them to see as somebody who believes in their art.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that the people who where to you is arrogance, right? To them, it's not. It's perspective, right? So to them, it's not arrogance. To them, it's confidence.
I'm not going to assume to know what it is to them.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's their call.
Like everyone can interpret it differently, and this is what we talked about, right? It's like the world doesn't revolve around you; it revolves around the perspective of you. So to certain audiences, they're like, "Yo, this guy is confident."
Right.
To certain perspectives of another song, they may be like, "Yeah, he's arrogant."
Well, in records, I don't give a fuck. I will talk all kinds
Well,
of
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
But I just mean like in an environment like this where I'm just a human. I'm not a character
Yeah.
behind
Yeah,
a record.
yeah.
And I'm just talking about I'm the best there ever was. Like that's a weird experience for me.
Because you're taking the time to be like, hey, this is how this made me feel,
Right.
You know, and you don't want to come off as arrogant, but like, this
Right.
made you feel a certain kind of way,
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
totally understandable, and,
Right.
you're not coming off as arrogant. It's like, hey, you've put in your dues, you've put in the work,
But again,
you put in the time.
That's perspective.
That's
no?
that's your
because that's
perception.
your
Yeah.
perspective, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, maybe come from my background where now we talk about everything on the internet. I always try to think of like what does not hurt people, right? Maybe in my opinion is too strong, but I've also heard when people told me like your opinion is exactly what I needed. So who am I to fucking
But
judge
I feel
how
the
they
same, but I feel the
perceive
same
me?
way about something like that list, right?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
the ongoing narrative for what it's worth.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like everyone in the fucking city or county is
Yeah, yeah.
talking about this shit because they're not. Right, but for the few select people that I hear it from or whatever,
yeah.
it's like, oh, Jay don't make music no more. Jay's a OG, OG. Bitch.
Damn, no, G.
Like, what the fuck, dude? I am not a fucking OG. To me, BH is a great. Box is an OG. Like, that's OG Santa Ana rap.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, not me, motherfucker. And if you start calling me an OG, that's like, am I washed? Is this a rap for me?
That's a whole
I ain't
nother
even got
question.
it. I ain't even got started yet.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand? I put out one album independently and it's paid some bills, and the next shit is gonna be magnificent. You
So
understand?
when's the next shit?
When's the next shit is a very that's a trap question, you know, and we don't do that, you know. But I do know that it is on its way and it's nearly finished. That's what matters, right? The most important thing is
a little tease.
like I'm doing a show in Orange County to remind my community that I'm not
at?
dead
Where
at the House of Blues. Yeah, and it'll be a great experience, and I'm gonna do that, and hopefully it sells out. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to play a sold out show for what it's worth. It's only like a 350 person venue. It's not crazy, and I am sharing it with two other magnificent
A
artists.
couple of people here right now. About to
Oh man!
go.
Oh, you guys got comp tickets. That's easy.
Shit,
call.
nah, we want to
Yeah.
fucking support.
Oh, I also
Yeah.
appreciate
Don't have
that.
Compton tickets.
Because you know
Tickets
how
are
Live
cheap.
Nation
Compton
works.
drinks. though.
Like, I will do that. I'll figure that out. But my point is, like, to answer your question, like, what have I been doing over the last few years? The same thing I was doing when everybody saw me as Jaytaj, the rapper in Santa Ana. Like, in this community, they saw me as a rapper. I played all these East End block parties and stuff.
Yeah.
What have I been doing for the last few years since then? The same thing. I've been doing the exact same thing in a different environment. Maybe not right in our faces in Santa Ana, but in a community that cultivates art the same way downtown Santa Ana does. And that shit has not changed, bro. And hopefully, like, it's as stupid as this sounds, but I don't know how else to put it. Like, I hope my lifestyle is indicative of that. I hope that you see that it's like, damn, all of y'all see me on the gram. You all see me on my stories and stuff. It's like, damn, this fool's living in LA. He's all over the country at all times. And he's clearly, I'm not doing fucking medical research. I'm clearly creating art. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully the people who are intelligent enough to understand the artistic process understand it's like, damn, this guy never stopped. He never stopped and he never will until I take my last breath. I will hustle until I die. And I don't mean hustle in terms of business. I mean, I will hustle art. I will create art in some capacity
You're an art
until
dealer.
I die. Until if I live to be 99, I will continue to make another goal.
It's like you said, what is it that you've been doing all these years? The same thing you've been doing before, making art.
Message, and it'll never stop.
So, Jay, we're at the part of the show where we ask you what your craziest dating stories are.
What's the difference between Santa Ana shorties and LA shorties?
Just to answer your question, that question, which is separate from Mario's question,
yeah.
the answer to that is liberty is the main difference.
What do you mean by liberty?
I don't know. Like, this is a dangerous thing because I don't want to talk about women. I don't want to talk about women in a way that like I'm only talking about my experiences.
This is your perspective.
But like Orange
100%,
County people in general, maybe sometimes like the average person, not everybody, but the average person maybe sometimes has a closed mind about a lot of things, especially when it comes to dating, when it comes to like monogamy and the idea of like being kind of like fluid with the way you move with your body and things like
Yeah.
that. In places like LA,
Really?
there are some people, and those people we avoid, right? Like there's some people who are just like, no, these are the set rules, and ain't nobody like, and you ain't finna like no picture about nothing. Like, nah, there's those people like that, men and women. But then I've experienced over the last, since I left, I've experienced a whole new world that shifted my idea of what love is, and that is like liberty. Like it's my choice, and I do what I'm always in my own solitude, no matter how many beds and spaces and kisses and fucks and shit I share with other people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What
is
was
my
your
body.
light bulb moment? That like you
The what
obviously your light bulb moment.
I don't think there was one. I think it's like
Really?
a lot of my realizations are in retrospect.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't think of too many moments where it was like a click immediately. You know, it's definitely usually in like I'm just doing life changes, and I look back and I'm like, I don't even recognize who that person was 10 years ago, 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So the difference between Santa Ana shorties and LA shorties, culturally, not much. Just
Okay.
mind state sometimes. It's big fish, little pond mentality sometimes. It's just like it is in art, right? Like the things that are important. Like I like how do I make this like very like kind of surface level would be. I've hooked up with shorties that have hooked up with the homies. And it's not a big deal out there.
Okay, yeah,
you know,
okay,
it's like,
got it,
okay,
got it.
yeah. I've been in the same room with a few shorties that I've hooked up with, and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like they're all cool with each other. It's all love because there's bigger fish to fry. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes in these environments that I come from, it's like, oh, it's cutthroat, bro. It's like, how dare you? How dare you even be in the same space?
Yeah.
How dare you even look? What the fuck is she doing here? And I'm like, I don't what? Like back then, I used to play into that. Oh, it's a big deal. We actually got to do something about
We gotta
this.
invite this person, not invite the
Yeah,
other.
now I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Oh.
Like, what? That is so fucking trivial.
Yeah.
And that is a very common state of mind out there, at least in the dating space. You know, at least with the people that I deal with. You know, I know that there's a lot of, obviously, this is, I don't want to be generalizing anybody because you're talking about millions of people
course,
I'm trying
of
to
course.
generalize. But yeah, like in my experience in dating, that's been the polarizing shit.
So I'm kind of curious too because you know, LA and Orange County, I don't know how much bigger they are than each other, right? I feel like OC is more of a bubble than LA. You just kind of like go out, branch more in LA because a lot of people identify as LA, even outside of like LA, to be honest. You know, Long Beach is LA.
Right.
So some people in Torrance say they're LA, you know. OC, you kind of know where OC is, right?
Right.
And that bubble kind of stays. Not saying that like, yeah, you date within South County or some shit like that, because South County, you know where you're at in OC, and sometimes it's not South County, sometimes it is
Right.
Northern Orange County,
Right.
But in LA is broad, right? So how often do you find yourself in a position where you're like, hey, I am fucking with another person that has known someone that I've known? Because I feel like in LA they connect a lot more.
Yeah. Every time.
Really?
Every time. I don't
Every
think
time.
it's been a while since I hooked up with a shorty that didn't know a shorty that I hooked up with. It's been a long time. And some people may call that sticky, but it's like I call it knowing a lot of people. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that answers the question. I mean,
No,
the
it does.
irony though is like every love of my life is from Orange County.
How many you got?
I would say 2 or 3. You know
And
what I'm saying?
sorry, out of all the ones that you've dated, so love of your life, you have 2 or 3. How many has it been told that you've dated?
What do you mean?
Well, like you said 2 or 3 were out of the people you dated were the love of your lives, right?
I mean, like we were in committed relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
2 of them. Yeah.
2 of them. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the other ones are just like people that I was highly enamored with that changed my life. Like my admiration and my love for them, even if it was one-sided, if I loved them from a distance or I admired them from a distance, changed my life. It changed my perception of the world. It changed the way I accept and receive people. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, there's 2 shorties, Christina and Alyssa. And Christina being, you know, my first real committed girlfriend, you know, from my late teens into my early adulthood, and then Alyssa, like full grown up relationship for 6 going on 7 years.
Can I ask what makes them different
What makes them different from each other?
from anyone else?
I mean, the same thing that makes, I don't mean to generalize, but the same thing that makes everybody different from everybody else. Like we're talking about 2 unique human experiences, right? Like 2 unique people who have been raised by different people in different communities and have different belief systems and different values and different ways to maintain their relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't know how to get more specific than that, but like there's a lot of differences, but it's pretty like trivial personal shit. But like on when you generalize it, yeah, just the things that make them different from each other and everybody else is the same thing that makes us all different from each other and
I
everybody
think
else.
maybe a better question is like, what made them different from all the other girls? Like, what allowed them to, you know, fall for them, for you to share part of your heart?
I'll start with my first girl. This actually kind of like answers your other question, the craziest dating shit. It kind of is around, like it kind of is around both of them.
Yeah.
Right. Like these are the 2. Like I've hooked up with a lot of shorties, and I don't mean that in a bravado way, but I've like experienced a lot of women in my life, And these two stand out obviously because I experienced them in more ways than physically and sexually, which I feel like every shorty I've ever hooked up with, we obviously were able to maintain a conversation and I connected with them and formed some sort of relationship or friendship with them before or after the situation, right? But Christina and Alyssa, like my first girl, Christina, it was like an adolescent love, you know what I'm saying? Which led to a lot of like a lot of trauma that came from the need to learn how to navigate emotional wreckage. You know what I'm saying? That I feel like all of us go through, right? So with Christina, well, I'll answer what are the craziest things? So I'll answer your question of what makes them so significant and what makes them stand out and why did I lean in? And then in that same answer, I'm going to answer the two craziest dating experiences of my life, right? So with Christina, she's a magnificent woman. She's like she's gone on to she's I want to say she's married or almost married. She's got a child, a beautiful child, and I started dating her when I was 18 years old, and I think we kind of like for real ended shit when I was close to 25.
Oh wow!
You know what I'm saying? And my relationship with her was like, I, for whatever reason, always had this affinity for love and expressing love and receiving love and being in love and just having that unit for what? Who fucking knows? Talk to my therapist, right? Like, but I know that with her, in retrospect, at the time, it was like, oh, I love her because this is the love of my life. This is my destiny. We were meant for each other. In retrospect, I was just leaning into the first beautiful, sexy, smart woman that received me. You know, I'm talking banging body, beautiful face, beautiful smile. She had one of those smiles where her eyes didn't change when she smiled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like she smiled and her eyes kept the same shape. It was, I don't know why that stands out to me, but like her smile was one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen, right? And that's just one of the like obviously receivable attributes that everyone in the world can receive. But then on top of that, like she loved me back for what it's worth in the beginning. Towards the end, things got a little fishy, but we were kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my love for her was crazy in the way of it was in some capacity blind and adolescent and desperate. You know what I'm saying? And like I felt like there was a need. I needed her to live. And when things came crashing down, bro, I made terrible decisions. If y'all listen to 10-4, it tells the whole fucking story. You know, I try to kill a motherfucker. I wanted to kill this motherfucker that she moved on.
That's that kind of love, man.
You know what I'm saying? And I lost every ounce of integrity over this woman, and I lost every ounce of dignity. You know what I'm saying? And I really exposed myself in every way that could be cringe, but in retrospect was necessary for me to be who I am now, to experience a love like Alyssa's. My love for Alyssa comes from, okay, I'm just gonna be straight with y'all, and this is so fucking lame, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this shit on a public platform.
Please
but
do,
just for context, I really want to paint a picture, right? I used to believe that sex was like this sacred thing that we should only share with certain people, right? And so by the time I met Christina, she was the fourth woman I had ever slept with. There was three before her. One I thought I was in love with. I was a kid. I was like 16. The other two was like I was just being a kid, right? Yeah. Then Christina comes around, and I love her for all those years, and she's number 4. Our relationship ended. It depends on who you ask. If you ask her, it ended way sooner than if you ask me, right? Yeah. And so when our relationship ended in my world, it was around October 4th, 2015. Hence where the name of the album 10-4 comes from, right? From October 4th to when I met Alyssa in August of 2016, Alyssa was the 44th woman I'd ever slept with. So during that experience, like, oh yeah, people can be like, oh man, he was getting pussy, all this shit, right? What I was really doing was, first of all, exploring my liberty, exploring my solitude in a way that was like, I want to experience, like I first started like, I'm just trying to feel a shit. And the first like 5 women I slept with, it was agony, bro. Cause all I wanted was Christina. You know, I was just trying to feel some shit. And I was battling some fucked up demons. I'm talking about, I became addicted to things like diphenhydramine, like Z-Quil.
What's that?
It's the medication that's in Z-Quil and NyQuil that makes you sleep. So I would come home, and as soon as the sun went down, y'all know, I don't know if you ever been like depressed over a shorty. But when that sun go down, it's fucked up in here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it is just chaos. And I'd see images of her with this guy that she had moved on from me for him. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like this beautiful specimen athlete, fucking perfect hairline, beautiful smile. Yeah. Motherfucker had a great body and shit. And I just hated everything about my existence. And so at nighttime, it was real rough because all I could imagine was she must be with him.
It gets dark outside, and then it gets dark inside.
Yeah. So what I would do, fucking toss a fucking bottle of ZQuil and sleep for 14 hours, and then wake up when the sun
Christ.
comes up. And I became real fucked up in that way. And so part of that was losing hella weight, which obviously made me more physically attractive on the outside, because when I had broke up with her, I was a little bit overweight, you know, and then I lost all that weight. So I was like, oh, on the outside, I'm looking good, you know, like I'm snatched or whatever. On the inside, I was fucked up, right? But because I'm looking good and I'm a man with a dick, and all these girls are like, oh, let's kick it. I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's run it. And I'll hook up with these shorties and hook up with these shorties and hook up with these shorties. And it was empty and empty and empty. And then after a while, I started to like kind of forget about her, right? And I don't know why, but it's probably because I was being given attention from other people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that only took a few months before I just kind of like, all right, whatever. Then I became a whole different man. And I just started hooking up with everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, this is at the time when Bumble was cracking and Tinder was cracking. And I was just a handsome man for what it's worth, for what this is their feedback, not mine. Like, I was a handsome man on these dating apps. And it was like, I was cool. I was easy to I was easy to get along with. And I was just hooking up with all these shorties. And then like almost a year goes by. And it's been 40 fucking women in a matter of like 10 months.
Yeah.
You know, and it was dark and it was dirty, you know, and it was empty. And I'm talking some of my favorite people, bro. Some of these women are still some of my best friends, and they know exactly who they are, you know. And I meet Alyssa.
That
And
changed everything.
No, it changed nothing.
Oh, shit.
And that's why I fell in love with her, because
Whoa.
I had a conversation with her, you know, after a few times of hooking up, and we got to chopping and being comfortable with each other. And I had a conversation with her about like body count, you know, the most stupid, trivial conversation, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't like to talk about this, you know, and eventually we pushed the issue, and she was able to explain to me why she doesn't like to talk about it is because she doesn't want to be judged, you know, for whatever reasons, for her own experiences. And lucky for her and lucky for me, we had similar experiences, you know what I'm saying, in terms of our past and stuff. And so I was able to look at this woman, and she took me for who I was. She didn't see me as some dirty dog. Like, I can't believe you fucking fucked all these women, whoop-de-whoop. And I sure as fuck didn't look at her as some slut or some whore. You know, like she was just a human having a human experience. And that was checked off out of the way. Now I get to see your humanity in this moment. Fuck everything else. I get to enjoy who you are in this moment. And I never asked her to be my girl. We never went through those traditional, trivial, fucking lame-ass motions, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, oh my God, you slowly became my best friend that I have amazing sex with, that I'm only having sex with you, and you're only having sex with me. And then next thing you know, we have every piece to a healthy relationship. We have a great sex life. We communicate clearly, which is a derivative of that conversation where we were able to be open about really probably the one thing that crashes down on most early relationships, right, is like our past. Usually is what kind of hinders, like, oh, you're still friends with your ex? Oh, you're still friends with these girls who you hooked up with and whoop-de-whoop? And, oh, you're still friends with that motherfucker that you hooked up with in Vegas or whatever? Why are you still friends with him, right? All of that shit is what usually cripples the beginning of a relationship for people like myself and Alyssa, who have just been adults experiencing ourselves, right? So then all of that unfolded into what it was. So I have my first crazy relationship where I almost killed myself. And I ended up in the hospital, bro. You just got to listen to 10-4, and you'll hear every step of that experience from that night. Where I crashed my motorcycle, I end up in the hospital. I try to kill myself off a lean, all because I was just like, yo, man, like I can't live without her. No one's ever gonna love me the way she loved me, and she loved me terribly, bro. Like, but God bless her soul. But she was terrible at loving me, man. Like at the end, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure in retrospect, she would never behave the way she behaved with me at the end, and I would never behave the way I behaved with her at the end.
You're explaining this relationship of yours, right, with Melissa and in your past. And I know, like, when you talk about your mom and your dad, and when your dad passed, and your dad was like, hey, I want you to love your mom. You mean like love her dearly, like how I did. Like, how much do you think that played a role into, like, how you seeked women or the women in your life, or not even women, but like that love? Because it sounds like to me like the reason why you're like, I did all this stuff is because like you're seeking a love that's like deep. Like you weren't saying like, yeah, you said like she has a banging body, but that was like the first thing, that's surface. But after the surface, all you looked at was the soul.
That's right.
And yeah, I feel like I see the soul of like your dad speaking about your mom, and it kind of plays a role in the way you date. Like you look for something more in depth, because you said like all 44 women, it was nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
There's no depth.
Not that I didn't try to identify it.
No, of course.
You know, like I did in those experiences with those women. Of course, I'm always looking for it. I'm always looking for an opportunity to connect deeper than just.
Yeah, and
fucking.
you guys are still friends.
Yeah. With most of them, some of them like straight blocked me because they were definitely cheating on their boyfriends or whatever. You know, but no, there was a few shorties where it'd be like, oh, we hook up, and then like the next morning, like they don't exist anymore. Like they don't have an Instagram, they don't have a Facebook, their numbers. Like, and then I find them because I'm like most of us, I'm a fucking super detective on the internet. And I find them and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of pictures with your man from yesterday. You know, and so I'm like, all right, which also opened my mind to the reality of the human experience. I began to normalize these things that we often saw as like the forbidden areas. I'm like, actually, Dad, this is crazy. This is way more normal than people like to admit. People be wilding, you know, and I'm the only one here that's not scared to fucking talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And when I met someone like Alyssa, we could talk about this crazy shit, and she was like, no, I get it. And I became like, oh my God, you're a safe place for me. I get to be exactly who the fuck I want to be, and you're not gonna annihilate me for that. You're gonna love me through all of this shit. I was a whore. You understand what I'm saying? I was a straight slut, and I never like took dignity away. I never took dignity away from these women. I like to believe I never did. I definitely never like. There was times when I meet a shorty like, nah. Like I would make it clear. Look, I'm just trying to get some pussy. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe not in those words, but I would make it clear. Like like you go on a dinner. So what? You trying to like? Are you looking for a girlfriend or whatever? Like no. And I'm like no, definitely not. Yeah. Say it right there. One of two things happen. We go home and fuck, or she's like, not really my style. Still got love and respect for you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And those people, awesome. Some of those women are still my friends. You know, and so through that experience, I had learned so much about other people's human experiences that it humbled me. That actually this whole thing where I was so mad at Christina and I wanted to kill that motherfucker. I had the whole thing in my head where I was gonna sneak up on him in his Mazda 3 and I was gonna put a 22 through the. Bro, I was gonna put a 22. Speed at least? Yeah, no, I'm talking. He had the hatch with the fucking like the Mazda where they take the circle out and it's just like the little M and it looks like you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, they had that whole yeah. So he had the fucking tuned up Mazda 3 and I had dreams, bro, and I had a whole plan in my head where I was gonna ride up on my fucking bike behind him at the fucking at the intersection. I was gonna pop out my little 22, walk up to his window, and shoot his fucking kneecap off. It's funny, right? But that shit's dark as fuck.
No, it is. Have you heard dreams? It's not even funny. Like I laugh at this shit because it's not because it's fucking funny. It's how I cope with like these things that are reality. Right. You know what I mean? Like I've gone through some shit where I'm like, damn, that's just not fucking funny. But I laugh about it now.
Now I'm like, yo, this kid was tripping, but he wasn't tripping. Actually, he did. So when I had images of me killing him. Yeah. Right, killing him, bro. I'm not exaggerating. Ask my family. Of course. My uncles would tell me like, "Yo, man, like I hope you never fight this fool because you ain't finna. You're not trying to find out who's the better man. Yeah, you're trying to kill him. Yeah, you're gonna be laying in on this man, and you'll grab bricks and you'll stomp his fucking head in with a stool or whatever you got to do because you hate his existence. But all of that was a reflection of my lack of respect for the human experience. I didn't respect anybody else's experience. I didn't respect her experience. I didn't respect his experience. He was just a guy. She was just a woman who was looking for something she was not getting in this situation. And she maybe didn't know how to navigate letting this one go before she moved on to the next one. But she was just a human, man. Yeah. She just made a mistake. And a mistake is a subjective concept. It's a mistake to me. In my point of view, you fucked up. Yeah. But maybe not to her. Maybe in her mind, she did tell me, yo, back the fuck up, Jay. Yeah. I'm trying to go do my thing. And then she went to go do her thing, and I was the one that was latched on. And then she go and hook up with him. And I'm like, oh, he gotta die. Yeah. And that was my lack of respect for the human experience. Yeah. Through the 40 women after her before Alyssa, I was forced to respect their experience. I was forced to respect the fact that we're all just doing life. And none of our experiences are more important than the other. So how I experience you, I could be like, man, fuck you. You did me wrong. You didn't do me wrong. You just did. Yeah. That's all you just did. You were just alive. To do me wrong is to center myself in your life. Yeah. And that's some wild ass arrogant shit. You know what I'm saying? So when I met Alyssa, I met someone who viewed the world the same way. So I have this one crazy experience, which is just blind, passionate, stupid fucking decision making around my idea of love to this polarizing, free, liberating, say what you feel, be who you are, and every breath will decide if this is still right for us. Every breath. We knew from the beginning, I am Jay and you are Alyssa, and we are not obligated to be in this situation. We were not destined for each other. we this is all happenstance and coincidence, and we met each other at the right time in the right place. And once we began to explore our relationship, every day we remembered that today might be the day that I don't love you no more.
I think the moral of the story, if you guys want to become more self-aware and let go of ego and kind of like,
Get around, baby.
really respect
around, baby.
really respect the human experience, it's you got to sleep with 40 women.
Hey, Mara's way beyond that, so we good.
Let me further elaborate on my relationship with Alyssa too. Is like we were together from 2016 to October, November 2021. And then all of 2022, we were broken up, but we shared Cyrus, my baby boy.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time together. The whole 2022, we were still hooking up with each other. We were basically still together.
Yeah.
But we were also hooking up with other people. And then I experienced what is like this strange, unintentional, open relationship with this woman that I love. And she loves me back. And I was able to take all this theology that I thought I learned from Christina's relationship about respecting the human experience, and it was really put to the test. I mean, bro, she was hooking up with dudes that, are on the court with the Lakers. She was hooking up with these beautiful specimens, like that reminded me of the feeling that I felt when Christina left me for that man. And I was like, he's perfect. This motherfucker perfect, bro. I'm low key like almost obese. You know what I'm saying? I got like, you know what I'm saying? Like I got a goofy looking face. The back of my head is flat. Like my tattoos are not perfect. Like I fight all the same insecurities that every other motherfucker do, no matter how much they put on, right? And I look at these men, and I was really put to the test, and we passed. Me and Alyssa passed the test. We still love each other so deeply, like as if we never, ever spent time apart. And in some ways, we love each other more deeply because of our respect for each other's experience. From the time that me and Alyssa broke up till now, it was probably close to the other situation in terms of how many women I hooked up with in 2022.
Yeah.
Right now, I was traveling, bro. I was like I was in other states for 2 nights, and you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden I got company cards and shit. Now I'm that dude. Right? And I'm exploring that full force, full steam ahead. And she's exploring her own thing in her own way, whatever that's her liberty to discuss. But we both experienced other people after having such a deep, committed relationship where it was just us. And now our love for each other is even more significant. So the polarizing difference, like to me, what happened with Christina is crazy. It's crazy, like by definition.
Yeah.
And what's happening with Alyssa is crazy. Because I can't believe it. Because I look at everybody else's relationship and I listen to the shit that's got them shook, and I'm like, man, it couldn't be us. Wow. Like that is not even remotely on the spectrum of the shit that we worry about. Like the shit that we worry about is, I don't want to say realer or like more important, but like, wow, that's got you shook. That his explore page is a bunch of bad bitches. That's got you shook. Imagine if he fucked all those women.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like. Yeah. Half my explore page, this is stupid, I'm not gonna say it. Like, you understand where I'm going?
Yeah,
though? It's
yeah,
I'm still, and just like the women before Alyssa, I'm still friends with 90% of the women that I had experiences with over the last year. And Alyssa has respect for my humanity. And I have respect for hers. And we still love each other so deeply because we know that love is a choice. Love is an act. Love is something that you do. It's a verb. And we choose to do that. We choose what Rocky said on his episode. We choose to tend to this garden. And we also know that how we tend to this garden makes us better gardeners no matter what garden we find ourselves in. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so we can find ourselves leaving this garden one day and move on to another garden with somebody else. And how we treat this one will dictate how well we're a gardener in that one. And that respect for each other's humanity is crazy to me, bro. It's crazy when you put it up against everybody else's shit.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 craziest dating stories.
That was solid, man. That was solid.
And hopefully that also answers like why they're so significant to everybody else. Like I've loved other women, man. I've loved them and I still love them with all my heart. Yeah. But I just don't have those very deep experiences with them where they stand out. Like I just love them. That was a one-way street.
Yeah. It's crazy because the way you spoke about it is so fucking respectful. You know what I mean? Like you said, like we're still friends and those experiences are still meaningful.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is me and Christina do not talk at all. Like we have no relationship at all. No social media, nothing. But I love her, bro, and I'll love her forever. And yeah, maybe sometimes people might hear whispers when I'm fucked up, and I'll be like, man, fuck that girl. Fuck that mother, you know what I'm saying? But like at the core of everything, man, I have so much love for her and her family. And when I was going through the hard drive to tell that Ab-Soul story on my Instagram, bro, I found so many pictures of us and pictures of me holding her niece when she was a little baby, who's now like a freshman in high school. It's crazy to me, you know what I'm saying? So like in retrospect, I maybe have said some things and acted on some things that I'm not the most proud of,
Hey,
but
no,
my
that's-
love for her has never
that's the shit.
changed.
That's
It's
the
never
shit,
changed.
bro.
Sometimes first love is like that, you know?
Yeah, she wasn't my first love.
But it's not even about the first love. It's a meaningful love. You
Yeah.
know? like
First
like,
meaningful then.
What did I talk to you about yesterday? Right, we went to Magic Castle. Me and this dude and a couple of homies went to
In
Magic
Hollywood?
Castle. Yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I don't like to chalk things up to like fate. I'm more like it's coincidence than fate.
Nobody else has control over my life.
No,
That's crazy.
exactly. So then I was like clean shit out of my house, and my stepmom was like, "Yo, like you have a box here. Do you want to throw it away?" And I was like, "What box is it?" And it was yesterday, same day as Magic Castle. And then I went through the box, and it was a picture of me and my ex in Magic Castle. Like ironic, right? Coincidence. And she was like, "You want to throw this away?" I was like, "You know what? It's not for me. It's her box, so I'm just give it to her." But later on that day, my homie was like, "Would you ever get back with your ex that did that?" And I was like, "No, I wouldn't." But it's funny that you spoke about it this way, and it's easy for us to like romanticize a lot of like situations, but the meaningful ones will always stick in your mind, no
Yeah.
matter if that box exists or not.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, I didn't remember any of that. Like the way you talk about it, it's like you don't need a box to exist for
Right.
you to know that this has played a big role in your life.
Right.
Photoshop.
Yeah, I just Photoshop.
Right.
And that's tight because like
Photo bucket.
it's not really about this one person. It's not really about romanticizing other people. It's really about understanding your own life and who you're gonna figure out your own life with. And in a way, I feel like you've just been navigating through life the entire time. So I feel that the way you understand your love life is very similar. It makes sense.
Thank you.
Like when you say
think
it's just
that's a
crazy, it's
compliment,
just
right?
fucking
Besides
wild.
the 40
I'm
women.
taking that as a compliment.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I
taking
feel like
that
that's
as-
what you should take. You need to go sleep with women, Peter.
Peter, you
You've
do
been
you,
here for
baby.
too long.
Respect his human experience. Let my man.
Yeah, please let me breathe, bro.
Let my man be.
But you're so
celibate.
thirsty lately.
What the fuck? I'm not thirsty, dude. I just have fucking.
Look at his explore page.
Man, nah, don't do that. Don't criminalize. Because I'm not thirsty, but my explore page is wild.
Yeah,
it's
you know what I mean.
wild.
I told him most of them are just
I just-
feminists that I support. That's all it is.
Mine are definitely like shorties who are just doing that thing they do on Instagram, and I just happen to. I double tap on everything. I literally just like tap 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 tap. Like I just go through tap 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 tap
You
tap
know,
everything.
I just shared. That's all I do.
You know, so that's why my algorithm is fucked. Like my explore page is like baddies in the gym and bikinis and dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
mine
like
too.
UFOs.
Oh,
You know?
close.
Yeah,
That's a little
like that's
different.
my explore page.
Hey guys, welcome back to Lightning Round, where we ask our guests some rapid fire questions.
I'm ready. I gotta. If we're doing lightning, I gotta protect the eyes.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Favorite color,
Black
favorite food.
soul food.
When'd you lose your virginity?
17.
First kiss.
Maria Moran.
Oh, okay. You do like the Latinas. Something you would change about yourself.
I wish I was a little bit taller.
I wish I was a baller. Who inspires you?
Everybody
Last time you cried.
today.
What are you proud of?
Myself,
What scares you?
nothing.
Ooh, okay.
Well, except fire. I don't ever want to be burned alive. That's crazy.
Ashes.
But nothing else. Even that, I'm like, I'll fucking take it on the chin if I had to.
Craziest place you'd had sex?
In a tax return office while waiting to get my
Tax
taxes
return?
done. Yeah. Also, no, that is
Right
a lie.
here?
No, that is a lie. 80 miles an hour on the 10 freeway coming from Phoenix into Blythe, California.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, 80 miles an hour. Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but I could break down the science in all of it.
Break it down.
Yeah, okay, so so I was significantly lighter. I was probably like right now I'm pushing about I'm about 240. At the time I was like 205, maybe I was like 35 pounds lighter, so I was a little bit leaner in the waist. Shorty was crazy fucking acrobatic. And you know, the Honda Accord has more room than like you drive a Honda Accord, right?
Yeah, not a Civic though.
Yeah, nah. So the Civic, you can never do this.
Nah.
You know, but a Honda Accord's right in the pocket. She was able to fit one leg right here, and she was able to fit one leg like in between the center console and the seat, and she just leaned over towards the center, and I was leaning this way, and she was just like, I'm talking like sumo squat, you know, bouncing. And like everybody has car sex and stuff, but never in my life did I think I would like climax in a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? I had it on cruise control.
Climax
And I'm
at
just
the
holding,
climax.
and I'm just holding, and we're going, bro. And I'm talking trucks and everything. And listen, if you ever wanted me Like, I will ask her to comment on this video to corroborate that this is real. I'm not lying, bro. This is real life, real deal Holyfield. And yeah, that was the craziest. It used to be a tax return office until that happened.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? I was a kid when the tax return thing happened. You know, it was just like we were just waiting, and it was like, fuck it, there's nobody else in the room.
Yeah,
So.
but
We'll
now you're
get send in a
taxing
video
adults.
to corroborate.
But
this.
I also didn't, forget my language, but I didn't nut in that situation. It was like, oh, let's get it in. It's like 10 seconds. I was like, all right, we're done. Ooh, look what we did with we did something exciting.
Yeah.
This situation, it was like, no, this is two grown motherfuckers
How
risking
tall was
their
she?
lives. She's 5'2".
Okay.
Yeah, she's
damn.
She
5'2".
lost short.
Shorty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and she was strong, baby. Like she was, like she was in the gym hitting them squats, and it showed. You know what I'm saying?
I need a Honda
Yeah.
Accord. Jeez.
Yeah, that was my Honda Accord. Rest in peace, man. That shit got repoed in Santa Ana in 2017. The end of 2017. That shit's still on my collections. Fucking me up. But yeah, I miss that Honda Accord, man. I got that shit at one of them sus ass like car dealerships in Garden Grove. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so yeah, that's the craziest place I ever had
Yeah.
sex.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
I think that wins. That's our craziest one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. All right,
so-
sunglasses. Are we keeping going? Are we
Oh yeah. I got like
Okay.
2 more for you.
All right, bet.
What's your fetish?
None. Sex.
Just none.
Yeah, I want to just have good sex.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like nothing. I don't fetishize anything I can't think of, at least.
Really?
Yeah,
There's
no.
not one thing that intrigues you more than another?
Ass. I love ass. I mean, but who doesn't? Like
Does it have to be big ass, just fit
just
ass,
gotta look good,
wide
Like
ass?
Janae Aiko got a great ass, and so does Georgia Smith. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Georgia
not to
Smith.
objectify y'all, but you know what I'm saying. It don't have to be big or little or wide or not or like long. It just gotta
the
look
booty.
good.
Yeah,
Like
nice is nice.
You know what I'm saying? Silhouette is everything. So yeah, no, I guess that, but like not really.
I'll give you an example. Peter loves it when girls cry. Like it just gets him hard.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
bro.
it gets him hard. Like that's his thing.
Yo, that's wild.
Makeup
felt-
just looks good when it's running.
Yo, that's crazy. Yeah, like maybe during sex, like when she got good makeup on during sex, and then y'all fucking so crazy that it's like all runny and shit
Nah,
after.
it's when we're fine, bro.
Yo, that's weird as fuck, bro.
I think it's just a way for me to get away
This is the
from my
first time I've
palms,
judged you this whole conversation.
I was gonna help it.
I
I'm
thought
looking at him like this is the first time I judged you this entire conversation.
Yo, this is a joke though.
no,
I
this is
wish,
real.
I wish.
Yo,
Like,
respect,
no,
I think.
No,
Are
if
they
me-
okay? Are they good?
not really during the time. Like when me and Shorty are arguing a little bit, they might be frustrated to the point of like tearing up. And when they're making runs a little bit, I'm like,
And how do they receive this? Like when you're turned on, and
They'll
you make,
legit be like, "Are you?" They'll be arguing and they're crying because they're having. You have a fight with your partner, right? They'll be like, "Are you fucking hard right now?"
and have you ever been able to exercise your horniness?
oh yeah, 100%.
and they're okay with this.
When you get
You
like
be real careful with this answer. It's either a yes or a no
Yeah.
answer. Hopefully the answer is yes, Peter.
it is yes.
Yes, okay,
It is
okay,
yes,
cool.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's crazy. I don't know how to feel about that.
It's like this. It's like let's say this.
It's like the first time you stumbled this entire.
No, but look at it like this. Like everyone is a fanatic about makeup sex, right? Everyone's like makeup sex sounds fucking
Not really
great.
me, nah.
Really?
Nah,
Okay,
I like good, happy sex.
I mean, I like it too. I
Like
like it when
makeup
they
sex
hit me
to
a
me,
little
like
bit
what
more,
is
but-
even that? What is even that? Did you make up or not?
No, we make up. Yeah, with their
Yeah.
genitalia. It usually happens a little bit.
So did you make up before you fucked? Like did y'all?
no,
So
after.
you just so you guys were still fucking hating each other, then you
Oh,
fuck,
yeah.
and then it's all
It's-
good.
it's a hate
That's not
fuck at
making up,
first.
Peter. That's a facade.
No, it's a facade during the moment, but we speak about everything afterwards because
all right.
now all of a sudden we're all lovey-dovey, right? Oxytocin's in our fucking.
That's the
like-
problem. That's the facadical part. You didn't act. That's like it's like masturbation. It's like you didn't really accomplish anything.
You're
You
right,
just
you're
fucked,
right.
and now because you feel good, you're like, actually, we're good, but you're not. Did you really solve the problems?
I mean, I'm single, so I would say no.
Man, hey, best of luck to you, homie. Man, if I ever see a girl crying around you, I'm running, dog. Right?
We were tearing up earlier. He was getting.
Maybe some mascara.
Respect, though. Hey, whatever you into, man. Whatever you into.
Ain't
my
judging.
last question. What's one goal that you have for this year?
Drop the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Respect, yeah.
And drop it with distribution,
Okay.
like real distribution. Yeah.
Let's get it, man.
Like someone else distributing it,
Yeah.
but not owning it, Nah, man, you're not gonna beat that out of me, dog. Nah. Another goal is to play a sold out show at the House of Blues on March 18th.
Let's do it.
That's the most important goal. So y'all help me there.
If you didn't rap, what kind of music would you be into?
I would be singing like
be
I guess R&B.
Yeah.
No, yeah. If I didn't rap, I mean, I hate that I have to rap. I wish I could sing.
You said that you write for a lot of other people. Who would you want to write for you?
Kendrick.
Oh, shit.
What the fuck?
Tight.
Or Frank? Kendrick or Frank?
Frank.
Ocean?
Ocean.
Not Sinatra, motherfucker.
If you had a chance to say one more thing to your dad, what would that be?
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's like, whoa, curveball. Yeah. The last thing that happened to my dad before he went to the hospital, we got in an argument. And I was helping him into the bathroom. This is crazy. I've never told anybody this shit. Yo, man, this is supposed to be rapid fire. So me and my dad had that conversation we talked about earlier. We had it in the hospital, like when he kind of came back a couple days before he passed away. But like before that, 2 weeks before that, what sent him to the hospital was he fell in the bathroom. And the reason he fell in the bathroom was because I had come in and I helped him go from the kitchen to the bed. And he was in a wheelchair, and I lifted him up, and he was probably about a good 230, 235, so it was work, you know what I'm saying? And I lifted him out the wheelchair, put him in the bed, tucked him in all nice, whoop-de-whoop, and I went into the living room to do whatever dumb, so meaningless I don't remember what I was doing. And he was like, JJ, and I was like, fuck. I was like, what, Dad? And this is just like stupid adolescent, like impatience or whatever. And he was like, I gotta go pee. And I'm like, man, fuck. Why you didn't tell me that when I like just fucking took you into the room? I didn't say those words, right? I never would cuss at my dad. I was like, why you didn't tell me when I put you in the bed? And I was visibly frustrated. And I was like, and he was like, I didn't know I had to pee. And I was like, all right, man, well, come on, let's go. And I'm helping him up, and I'm maybe being a little rough. And he used to have to wear this strap around him. And I would like hold the back of the strap with a twist, and I would walk with him to the bathroom, and he went to turn around, and now he's frustrated because I think he's embarrassed because he didn't know he had to pee before he got into bed. And he was like, get out, I got it. I was like, all right, fine. I got out, and my dad fell. And then he went to the hospital, and yeah. And so, like, when I had that conversation with him, we didn't talk about that, you know. And I know that he was going. Like, we're talking about a 10-year battle.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not like maybe this is me convincing myself, but it's not like I sped up the process or something, mate, right?
No.
But, like, he never came home from the hospital that time. And so I know my dad knows wherever he is that it's all good. You know, it was time. And my dad was suffering for 10 years. And he finally said goodbye.
Yeah.
But we never talked about it in that last conversation in the hospital. And I never talked to my moms about this, and I never talked to nobody about this. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's like, yeah, if I didn't do that, maybe he would have held on for a little longer, but he was like, couldn't walk, bro. And like the reason he passed away wasn't because he fell. It was because his body stopped responding to the dialysis. You know, so it was unrelated, but it was just he went to the hospital because he fell, and then while he was in the hospital, like, he wasn't taken to the dialysis no more. And of course, like, for the first like 5 years, that was just like torment. Not to the point of like it didn't what's the word I'm like, they didn't make it to where I couldn't function.
Debilitate.
But it was debilitate me, like, but it was always in the back of my head. So
You felt that blade.
yeah, if I could say one more thing to my daddy, it would be so many things. But the first thing is like, man, I'm so sorry that I didn't exercise patience when you needed me to exercise patience the most. And a lot of the way I get down now is like, patience is a very big part of my active practice, you know, and I fail often, but I'm actively like, be patient. Be patient with people, be patient with circumstances, be patient with your career, be patient in your relationship, be patient with everybody's behavior around you, because like someone else's experience can all be altered for your lack of patience for them, which also comes down to respect for their experience, right? And so I was just a stupid kid at 20 years old, and just like, why you didn't tell me, man? Like, damn, I gotta come back here and do this again. You know, it's like, I didn't fucking know I had to go pee. Just get the fuck out there and get out. I could do it myself. And his own pride too, you know, which is like expected, right? So yeah, I would say like, I'm sorry, Dad, that I did that, you know. But I also would be like, man, the follow up would be like, dog, look, you know what I'm saying? Like, we are lit, you know. And I know he'd be super happy and super proud, and I know he is, and I feel it in me. And he lives with me at all times. So I don't have this feeling of like, does my dad forgive me or anything? I don't carry none of that. But it is just like, damn.
Yeah.
Even if I would have been able to chop with him in that last conversation where he came back and he was fully coherent, I wish in that moment I'd be like, man, I'm so sorry. Because I knew it then that I was like, yo, what? Like when he went to the hospital, I was like, oh, he gonna be straight. He gonna come home. Yeah. And then my mom was like, Daddy's not coming home, I don't think. He's slipping and the dialysis ain't taken and we might have to put him on hospice. And it was like, bro, what? Like, yo, man, and it was like he fell, and I told my mama he fell without all that context, and yeah, man, that's crazy. I've never ever talked about that with nobody.
Thanks for sharing that, man. I know that's a core memory in you now, and you've gotten past the blame. You've gotten past all like negative emotions,
So yeah,
because if you did get that chance, he'd be so proud of you.
Oh, I know he would. I know my daddy.
Yeah,
I see your pops right now.
Yeah, thanks, Brody. For real. No, I know that, man. I know he ain't like tripping on me. You know, I know he's just like, oh, shut the fuck up. You trying to make this sad ass story? Like I feel because I was stubborn, or some shit like that. So
one last one. Okay. For me. You'd be like, to all, I wouldn't say the musicians out there, to all the creatives out there, what's one piece of advice you would give them to keep on moving on when times are hard?
Wow, that's okay. To keep on moving on when times are hard it's not never gonna get easier. Like shit. No, like what I mean by that is you'll look back in retrospect if you don't give up on your art.
Yeah.
There's all types of ways that you can create a sustainable life where maybe art isn't at the center, because that's oftentimes an unrealistic expectation to be like art is the middle of my life and that's how I make a living and that's how I sustain, paying my bills and all of that shit. Yeah. Like, don't expect to be everything that you admire. Be who you are. Do what you need to do to make art, whether that means go get a job at the Boys and Girls Club and in your free time you're making art, and just continue on that never stopping making art thing. And one day in retrospect, you'll look back and be like, oh, damn, now my life is significantly different. And, and that's obviously I can't promise any artist that is going to be what it is. But I believe in my heart, I believe wholeheartedly that everything that's happened to me and like the great things that have happened in my life have come from like the subconscious, stubborn will to do art at all times. It's like subconscious. I'm not gonna go work a regular job. I don't say that shit to myself.
Yeah.
There was just a subconscious thing like, okay, like I'll be a producer in this company making videos for rappers that I'm better than. I'm down for that because it keeps me close.
Yeah.
And I get to still create art. And so my piece of advice to all artists and creatives is just like, it's so stupid and like, duh, but don't stop creating. Do whatever you have to do to create and shut the fuck up. Like, you're not the only creative out there who is unseen. You're not the only creative out there who nobody knows about. And for God's sakes, like, don't cry about it. Don't fucking cry that nobody listens to your music. Don't cry that your homies, oh, you're not my real friend if you don't fucking support me. Or like, oh, how about, like, okay, I'm gonna send this to the next thing because it is a piece of advice, is that for fuck's sakes, bro, do not fucking say that if your homies don't support you, they're not your homies. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life, bro. Like, the idea or the sentiment that is perpetuated on TikTok that's like, my homies be like, damn, man, why you ain't famous yet? Oh, because you ain't like my shit. Why you ain't like my shit? It's like, I didn't like your shit because it's fucking whack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, I'm asking you, damn, why aren't you famous yet? It's a rhetorical question. It's not real. How the fuck are you going to answer why you're not famous yet? If you knew that answer, you'd be famous. You understand what I'm saying? So when your homies, like when you like, damn, y'all share all these celebrities you don't know, you share all this art, these motherfuckers who don't even know you exist, why don't you share ours? It's like, because for one, I'm not obligated to be a fan of yours just because I'm your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's absolutely fucking crazy. And if you want people to love the art that you make lovable art. What the fuck? You think that Kendrick has to go and beg for his fans? No, bro. Kendrick makes incredible art that the world gravitates towards. And if I like Kendrick and you make music and I don't fucking quote you in all my tweets, it doesn't mean I'm not your homeboy. You understand what I'm saying? So stop, like, your friends are not your fans. And sometimes you have the grace of those two things coexisting in one person, but it is absolutely not obligated. So shut the fuck up, man. Like, stop fucking bitching about people who don't support you and leverage the ones that do, you know, and find people that do.
All right, guys, that concludes our lightning round. I want to say thank you to our amazing guest. So eloquent, so good. That was fucking fun, man.
Thank you, bro. For real, thank you.
Jay, let us know where we can find you.
Everywhere. Just kidding. No, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, at Jaytaj, Spotify, Jaytaj. If you find my Instagram, you'll find everything else.
And then your show?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and I'm playing a show, a comeback show, my first show in like 7 years at the House of Blues in Anaheim on March 18th. My aim is to play a sold-out show. Hopefully, by the time y'all see this, it already is sold out. But if it ain't sold out, come out, show love. You know, it's gonna be a good time. And I got gifts for everybody who buys a ticket at westsidej.com.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Hey, just let me
Thank you guys for just listening to all the stories about our past and our differences. And remember,
live
fast, eat ass.
Back when everybody loved me. Back when looking back was talking about a 90-something. Back before I turned to nothing. I had a dream walking around at 16 years young. The big screen and love was all I thought about. Like what the fuck they talking about? Swag out to back it up to throw it out. That's when I switched to me. Then I was trying to put a ring around Christina's finger. I still am. She probably know it too. She probably knows that if I die today, that she would be the final thing I think about to fly away. Find a way to find the pain and stagnant, even lighter cane. You can't numb me now. Think about it. Dumb it down. Walk around my city like I'm really want to run the town and they don't even know my name. Let alone my pain. I mean alone the music. I mean alone the shit that I create when no one's looking. Don't get blindsided like I did, and so I ask myself, why me? Keep it going, keep going. Why me? Cause I don't deserve you. Why me? Yeah. Why me? Hold up. Yo, this song, this whole project, matter of fact, my whole life is dedicated to this special group of people that have believed in me since day one. And that goes to my loved ones close to me and my loved ones that I haven't even met before. You see, none of you have ever gone unnoticed. Out of all these years that I've been doing this, all this time that I've been creating shit, the love and the support and the belief that you give to me, I don't deserve it, and it does not go unnoticed. And I've been through so much in my life that a lot of it doesn't even make sense still. And I've been given every reason to give up, and a lot of times I did. I gave up on myself, I gave up on what I believed in, but I never gave up on you because you never gave up on me. All of you that are always in my mentions, my inbox, my text messages, my emails, reminding me of why I do this. I love you. And although I still haven't figured out what I've done to deserve the love that I give from each and every one of you, just know that I cherish it, and you are in my hearts forever. And I want to give a special thanks to my parents, my mama Tina. Hopefully she's listening. I'm sorry for all the bad words, mama. And to my dad, Herschel. It's been 5 years since you went home to God, and I miss you every single day. I hope I make you proud. Love, just love. But I'm not done. I got more, just keep it going. Yo, to my sister Christina, to my baby brother Richard, to the rest of my family, to my real mother and father, Sissy and Jerry, thank you for creating me. And to my Goonies, my G-double-O-Ds! To my brother Kev, Kai Gritty, AJ, super dope. I love you guys, man. To my Uncle Bubba and the legendary Day One crew, John Flo and KD, I love you guys. To my cousin, the Gooch, and the rest of the Goonies, man, Cody, Miliano, Ducky, Jesse, Twinkie, Colin Benz, Bojay, Kurt, my man Jeff, Denzo, Orphan and Benzo. I feel like I'm forgetting people. If I forgot your name, I love you, I'm sorry, I love you. To my whole Tahaji family, I love you, Hafa Day. To all my cousins, man, there's way too many to name. Frankie Dean, I love you, dog. To my big homie Derek Deso, The Natural, Audrey T and Ricky Shucks, my big homie Timothy De La Ghetto, Josh Leva, Sylvia Munoz, George Munoz, David Alvarez, my man Pablo. Oh man, who am I forgetting? Jessica and Savannah, Jonathan, thank you. Mike Fallon, thank you. Jose, Monet, Olivia Max, Sandra, JB, Joanna, Edna, Sylvia Cortez. Oh man, my girl Bruna, my big homie Joe Sav and Q from the world famous barbecue show. All my family at Dash Radio, DJ Bass, Ski, Michelle. I love you guys. Oh, my girl Kay Coria, thank you. To my homie Tyson and the whole Concept Project, everybody in downtown Santa Ana, everybody in the whole goddamn city of Santa Ana. You guys are my world. I love you. I'm gonna be the motherfucking mayor one day. To my big homie Mike Shahadi, thank you, big dog. To all the anonymous donators, I love you, thank you. To everybody, man. There's so many people in my life, I wish I could name you all. I don't know why I deserve you guys. I'm so appreciative of you. And to Christina, I love you, and I thank you. This whole project probably wouldn't have went down without you. So I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. I love all of y'all, man. 10-4.